Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Freeze Frames Per Second. Sooner than expected, actually, because we said on our inaugural episode that this would be like an occasional thing, and we don't know when it would happen again, because it's more of a bonus spin-off podcast thing, but here we are, already. Again.
Hooray!
Hooray! Specific reason for that. Because, well, first of all, of course, we also played some games we could talk about, and, just still got a bit of time until we need to have finished the next two Anime Brain Freeze episodes, so we said, like, why not? But also specifically, John went to PAX East and, can talk a bit about that. So we'll start with that, and then we'll talk a bit about games, a bit about news, even though there are not that many. And then we'll have our newly named discussion, one up for discussion section. And yeah. So, John, start it off. How was PAX? What did you check out? Or, like, how was the general... I don't know. How many people were there? Was it tolerable? Or was it, like, suffocating? What was going on this year? Especially compared to previous years? Because I think you've been before, right?
Yes, this is the third time I've gone. And, I mean, it's an easy trip for me because I get on a bus and I'm in Boston in, like... an hour and a half, hour and 3/4. So it's nice. It's nice and easy for me. Kind of like when I go to Anime NYC, just get on a train and I'm there in a couple of hours as well. So but yeah, I would say PAX East was very well attended, as it usually is. There's always a lot of people there. So, but I usually go Friday, Saturday. Friday isn't quite as busy, but then Saturday is like, it can be a little overwhelming. But I don't think it's still like out of control the way something like a Comic-Con or an Anime Expo is. Like, the longest lines you're going to be waiting in are going to be to try out different games and to some of the food lines inside of the convention center. But
how are the food prices these days?
Friday night I just needed to get something to eat and sit down because I hadn't eaten since breakfast, and I was like, I should do this. And I was like, I'll get a couple of slices of pizza. They were not very good slices of pizza. It cost me almost $20. Mm-hmm. So, don't eat in the convention center. There's thankfully a Jimmy John's near the Boston Convention Center, so you can go there and eat slightly more affordably.
Jimmy John's?
You can get yourself...
I've ever been there on my trips to the US.
It's Subway, but not garbage.
Well, low bar.
Then again, any sandwich shop like a Jimmy John's, like a Jersey Mike's, like a Firehouse Subs is better than Subway. Subway is the lowest the bar can be. And I know there's that meme about and I think what's his name, Gianni Matragrano did voiced a version of the meme where it's like, Subway sucks. My brother in Christ, you made the sandwich. But it doesn't help when their ingredients are terrible. So
yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not the biggest hater of Subway, but also I have not eaten there in quite a while, so I don't know if the quality just went a lot bad. And with a lot of these, it's also heavily dependent on like the kind of I don't know who's handling that particular branch of the franchise.
Yeah.
Some have a better grip on that than others. Well,
yeah. Usually they have like food trucks out in like there's like this courtyard on the. I'm trying to think in relative terms. I think it'd be like the northwest side of the convention center, but they had them parked inside this year, and the lines were a little out of control. So it's like,
got it. But it was tolerable, both in terms of number of people and food availability, whatever. That sounds all right.
Yes.
How long were you there?
I was there Friday and Saturday, and then I left Boston on Sunday.
Mm.
So,
All right.
like, I got there a little late on Friday. The shuttle that runs from the hotels to the convention center runs from 8 to 11. I got to the hotel at like 11:30, so it was like, well, either I walk 35 minutes when I've been on my feet all day, or I'll just call an Uber. So I just spent the money. I was like, I'll just take the Uber. I'm going to be walking all day long at the convention center anyway. There were a lot of games to see. Um, the one big thing in the middle of the floor was Bandai Namco was like, "Hey, come check out Elden Ring Night Rain," and that they had this like giant bluish purple dome thing, but you had to get a ticket to go in. The tickets were gone real quickly, and then you didn't even like get to play.
Weird.
So, Bob Wolf on the YouTube channel Wolf Den, he was saying about how you would go in as a group of like 3 or 4 people, and then an Elden Ring quote unquote influencer would take the controls and play while you're watching, and it's like, well, you can watch footage from home, and the game comes out in like a week and a half, so it just the whole concept behind it seemed really silly to me when I learned about it after the fact.
I mean, technically, we had that before. I think I remember going to Gamescom before, and I think it was still Games Convention back then. I think that was still, different. It was not in Cologne. It was still in Leipzig. And they showed, I think, one of the newest trailers for Metal Gear Solid 4 there, and like the line was like incredibly long for people just to see the footage of that. And I don't know, that was still very popular back then, and like still a thing. I feel like these days, where it's even more accessible to get good footage, direct footage, and good trailers easily at home, it has a bit that watching these kind of premieres at a con has lost a bit of lust, especially when you have to wait so long to, in line to check it out.
That's why I was more interested in trying out, a couple of the smaller games, a couple of the games you probably can't try at home. Like there are some games on my list that, yes, I saw, and some of them had playable demos, but some of the lines were like, like a few days ago, I was like, well, the games that I didn't get to try there that have demos on Steam, I guess I'll try them now, so then I can say a little bit about them. But there are a few that I saw that were like, I would have liked to have tried them, but like in particular, Marvelous and Xseed had a giant booth set up, and I was like, oh, I want to try the new Rune Factory. Haha, that's cute. No, you're not.
Anything aside from Night Rain, maybe in particular, where you would like, wow, everyone flocked to that thing, like that's where the hype was, like everyone wanted to see this, like anything in particular?
So directly across from the Elden Ring thing, Pearl Abyss, the dudes who made Black Desert, they have a game coming out called Crimson Desert, and boy, it's just a Souls-like of a different color.
Okay.
So you see, like, these two games directly next to each other, it's like, well, you couldn't escape the dragon's gaze of Bandai Namco, but here we are.
Wasn't Black Desert more of like a Final Fantasy 14-ish thing? I'm not sure.
I never played it. I only ever saw footage of it, and it seemed like one of those sorts of Korean MMOs, which, the trailer cuts really well, but then it's like...
Yeah, I get it. More style over substance and more flash than actually feast.
Yeah, in MMOs, they're real hit or miss.
And there are very few ones that actually manage to stick, like especially in terms of longevity and content, actually getting good content that keeps people interested. I know I got into Guild Wars 2 for like a couple of days, few weeks there, and that petered off so hard. Like, at some point.
I played some of our friends, we played Guild Wars 2 for a little bit.
Mm.
Then when one of our friends was like, "Let's go do a jumping puzzle," I was like, "Okay," and then I went and did it, and I was like, "I want to die." So that was kind of the tipping point for me. I played Guild Wars 1 for a while. I wonder if my account even still exists. I'd be
Mm.
curious to try it, but maybe
What are the
maybe
biggest
I don't know.
MMOs that are going today aside from World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14? I don't even know because I'm like never really invested in that space. Even 14 I haven't touched in ages, so
PSO 2 kind of still
does
exists.
it? Since they did the transition to the whatever the new thing was called and got a proper Western release, I've not really hear anyone talk about it. Ironically, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
New Genesis is sort of
Yeah, that's what it was called.
there.
Mm.
There's Elder Scrolls Online, there's Star Wars, The Old Republic. I
Yeah.
guess Guild Wars 2 is kind of still there. But yeah, the two big powerhouses are definitely WoW and 14. Like
For
the other
sure.
ones sort of they're there. There's Eve Online. One of our friends plays a lot of Eve Online.
Right, Eve.
There's Lost Ark, which also kind of exists. There's Warframe, which is still pretty
Mm.
popular.
Yeah, yeah, Warframe. Yeah, comes up once in a while.
Which once upon a time I thought about checking out, but then I was like, okay, which platform do I want to play it on? Does
Mm.
it have cross progression? If I want to start it here, will I be able... So then I never really pulled the trigger on that, but I hear it's good and I hear
Yeah,
they've done neat things with it, so
yeah. So have I. But you know, MMOs are like the least attractive, not the least attractive genre, but one of the least attractive things to me because they are endless games. And you know, I'd rather play something where like, okay, this is a finished story, and when I'm done with it, I'm done with it. And
yeah, no, I get you. That's
mm,
why I only play the one MMO.
yeah,
I only play the one mobile game. It might become two next month. We'll see how I like Uma Musume.
we'll
I've
see.
been I've been waiting to be able to try it in English, so I
I'm
want to at least give it a shot.
I'm aware. I'm aware. So I hope you have a good time with it.
But yeah, about Crimson Desert is not an MMO though. It is a single player action RPG,
Oh, okay.
and I think it's cool, but so your Dark Souls, you have your dodge, your drink, your guard, your parry, your hat attack, and your heavy attack,
Hmm.
and then so a couple other variations in there, right? You know, it's the combat is pretty basic, but you know there are things you can do with it. Crimson Desert has all of that, and then it has so much more on top of it. Then I'm like, well, they want you to hit these buttons to do a grapple. They want you to hit these buttons to do this type of attack, or these buttons to do this. And it's like a lot to try and understand and do in the moment.
Hmm.
And the bosses they had at the demo were like, oh, you downed the boss. It has a second health meter. Oh, you downed the boss. It has a third health meter.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god.
Jesus. I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay. I like the style of this, but this is obnoxious.
All right. So didn't you didn't actually play it?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yes. The line was very long. So I had to wait in line for like close to an hour. And then they were like, okay, we want to show you this like 10 to 12-minute presentation that's like a primer on what to expect before you put your hands on a controller, which was like, okay, you know, they want to explain the systems and tell us some stuff about it. That's fair because the level of complexity is maybe not an order of magnitude higher than a Souls game, but it's still a little bit more.
Hmm.
So I kind of appreciated that they were like, we'll tell you how to do these other things, and then you can use these tools as you see fit.
Hmm.
So, and then you got to play the game for about 15 minutes, and you know, again, it was all right. I don't really think I'd see myself buying and playing it though.
Hmm. Okay. Anything that I don't know rocked your boat where you were like, oh, probably gonna get this.
So, our friends at Limited Run Games were there.
Hmm.
I have certain feelings about them, but they had demos of a bunch of neat games. They had Shantae Advance, and it's a Shantae game.
Hmm.
It's neat. It's cute. It's got the platforming. It's got the Metroidvania-ing. It's basically. It looks like they took the sprites from the DS/DSi game, that they probably had those assets in place when Shantae Advance was originally in development, and we're like, yeah, this is just that visual style.
Mm-hmm.
And, it plays good, it looks good, and the monitor that they had on was a little weird because it was screen tearing like a mother fudger. So I don't
Yeah,
think
I've
it
seen this
was.
before. Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the best way they could have shown the game off. But I think we both are big supporters of Way Forward, so I'm looking forward to that game.
Absolutely, yeah.
There was a game there called Double Shake, which is like a fusion of like Klonoa and Mischief Makers, sort of, where you're platforming around, you're grabbing enemies and throwing them, you're grabbing obstacles and using it to like get height. There was one enemy in particular where you could just like keep throwing it over and over and over and basically get infinite height. And I think one of the guys who was like one of the lead devs was there. He was answering questions. He seemed really cool, and it just seemed like a neat game. And a lot of these, so as a preface, a lot of these games I threw on my Steam wish list. So I go to throw this one on there. I'm like, oh, it's already on there. This must have crossed my path at some point. Cool. All right, good to know I was already interested in it. They also had a display of Earthion, which is the game that Yuzo Koshiro's studio Ancient is working on.
Yes.
And it is just an old school friggin' shoot 'em up, and it's really good, and it's really just gorgeous with the pixel art, and the music is
cool.
bumping, and I am so stoked for it. I've been waiting for it for so long, so I was super happy to be able to put hands on it.
I mean, there have been some retro style shoot 'em ups in recent years, but this definitely looks like one of the few ones that actually captures the feel, the style, and also the quality. Just from an outside perspective, I haven't played it, of course, but that these old 16-bit shoot 'em ups were going for.
I would say the style's like Genesis Plus, because at the end, because it does some weird. Or I shouldn't say weird, some really cool like 3D effects that the Genesis clearly can't do. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
I love it when they do that. I guess, some retro style game just do that. I always find it kind of a shame when they decide to click, okay, we're going to do an exact replication of an NES game in a way. The Mega Man 9 and 10 kind of tried to do that. They had some bits in there that maybe were like, oh, this is impossible. Frame rate aside, especially.
Yeah, I feel like 9 in particular did that. And then 10, they were like, you know what? We don't have to adhere quite as strongly.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like Shovel Knight is definitely one of those where you see animation. The general style is, hey, this is definitely NES 8-bit-ish, right? What it's going for, late NES, but also there are some things in here that that system wouldn't have been able to handle. Like there's some animations in here, there's some, I don't know, some backdrops in here that have too many colors or something like that.
Too many colors, too many layers.
Yeah, too many layers. There's parallax scrolling suddenly and something like that, right? So I always love that. I love it when the game goes for definitely the style from a specific console era that is way past, but then adds some nice sparkles to it from, some seeing like, okay, this is running on something that has much more power and can show you some nice fireworks, but in that style, so it doesn't feel alien or something like that. I love that. So I'm glad to hear that Earthion is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's sort of going for the same thing that Sonic Mania did, where it was more than a Genesis game, probably around like a Saturn sort of thing. Because the one big 3D effect in Earthion, which you've probably seen in the trailers, is the plane or the jet that you pilot at the end of the stage. It goes from being a sprite into a 3D model, and then it flies up into the camera, and it's like, okay, all right, that's cool.
I don't even know if I actually have seen that. I need to rewatch the trailer.
It is a very specific effect, and when you see it, when it then blends into the 2D art, it's like, yeah, that's really cool.
Cool. When is that coming?
This year. Most of these games are coming this year, as far as I know. I mean, a lot of them, you could see they have listings on Steam. It's the ones that have release dates. They have them there. If they don't, it's like it's coming. Yeah, I'll try and rapid fire through the rest of these, but there's this one like pixel art platformer called Gigasword where you are wielding a gigantic sword, quite literally, and it's heavy and you swing it slow
Hmm.
and you can't jump very high when you're wielding it. But a lot of it, the mechanic is behind it is that sort of a puzzle platformer. So you can like put the sword down, and that slightly increases your speed and your jump height.
Hmm.
So you might need to like put it down somewhere and then like raise or lower a platform in order to take it
Ah.
with you to continue places. And the sword can be used as a key, and you get different powers in order to be able to open other doors and whatnot. So, it's a very aesthetic game because it's the very, very like much 8-bit, 16-bit pixel art, but it plays really great. It's just really fun. I was playing it for a while, and I was like, I should probably get up and let someone else try it because I could be here like all day.
I mean, if nobody's asking.
Yeah, I know, but it still didn't feel right just sitting there for so long.
But it's nice that it like caught your attention and it feels good. It looks like it's going for definitely more of an NES style or an 8-bit style than for a 16-bit style. At least in the general stages because the color palette seems to be very limited. Looks a bit
Mm.
Castlevania-ish, I guess.
Yeah, it's very that because it's like one big level where you're exploring.
Mm-hmm.
There's, different paths to open up when you defeat different bosses and get different. Like at one point, it's like, oh, your sword has the power of the Emerald Key now, and then you can open different doors with it. So,
Mm. But I also see some backdrops here and some bosses that definitely look more 16-bit-ish and cool also.
mm,
So, yeah, it
so
looks
that's neat.
interesting. That might also be up my alley. I'll keep it in mind.
Tried a game called Neon Inferno, which is pretty close to being a Contra game. Uh, the sprites are like huge and amazingly detailed, and it's got this mechanic where you can like reflect bullets back at enemies. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
busy with some of the detail that's going on. You can like shoot into the background in the style of Wild Guns.
Yeah.
So, it's a gorgeous game. It's tough as balls, but it's really cool to look at.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I think I've seen this before. We've seen a
yeah,
trailer of something like that.
I think it's been in the works for a minute.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but definitely looks cool.
mm. There's a game called Break Arts 3. It's a mecha action game, but it's also a racing game
I'm all ears.
where you're building up a mech to go in like combat races. Obviously, it's the third of its kind from the name,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just really fast paced and like there's a lot going on with it. Like I'm going through this doing a combat race. I'm trying to maintain, the the robot from overheating because when it overheats, it loses its structure, and if the structure drops to zero, you get knocked out for a few seconds. And I did that by accident. I went from first place to third place, and I was like, God,
Ah, man.
ah. So clearly, I don't have my mech license yet.
But it looks like the
Don't.
speed is there. That definitely
Oh yeah,
looks fast paced as fuck.
it's super fast, and they have the racing mode, and then I guess there's just like a regular combat mode as
Mm.
well, which I don't think the second game had, which is cool to see it. They're sort of expanding into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tried a game called Demon Tides, which is a 3D platformer that is most definitely about movement. And I don't know if I have the brain for some of the stuff that they were trying to ask the players to do, but it's stylish, and you can do like double, triple jumps, jumps out of water, jumps in the air,
Mm-hmm.
hovers, dash attacks into enemies. So it's kind of like a fusion of like Mario and Sonic trying to do both movement systems at the same time because you also have like your side flips that Mario has. You
Mm-hmm.
have rail grinding. You have again your dash attacks. It's
It definitely looks like a speedrunner game.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's cool. I don't know if I have the brain for a lot of what they want to do, of
Mm.
what they expect you to do. Then for some of the stuff that I saw there but didn't get to try, but a few things that I did try on Steam were there's a Corgi's Cozy Hike. We were playing as a little corgi doggo, and you're
Huh.
going around exploring this island, and you're just making friends, seeing the sights. And I think the money that uh, they're gonna get from the purchases is going to partially go into like helping dogs and other pets find forever homes and
That's great.
different shelters. So that's neat.
Yeah.
Absolutely support that.
Same.
There's this roguelike twin stick shooter called Section 13,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where you're one of those like, oh, you died, but you came back because we can't let you go so easily, agent, and there's zombies everywhere, and it's I don't know, it seems all right, but trying to actually build out a meaningful character seems really tough, at least in the demo, so
Mm.
maybe there'll be more options to do that sort of stuff when the actual game comes out. I don't know. I usually like twin stick shooters, so let's
I
see
don't
how
like
I feel about
roguelikes,
it.
so I'm probably not gonna check it out.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Skateboard Knight is the last one I actually put hands on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a it's like an auto scroller type thing where you're fighting enemies, and you are what it says on the tin. You are a knight on a skateboard.
Hmm.
And you were going through beating up enemies, collecting coins, gaining experience, leveling up, and you need to, choose different boons upon level up. And then there's like this big grid of levels that you're traversing, like a lot of levels. So it looks like it's a pretty meaty game in terms of just like how many stages you're gonna get out of it.
It looks
And
like you also, can take specific paths through the
yeah,
game. So maybe depending on what you do, you end up with a different path or whatever.
yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's
Mm.
definitely in there. So again, it's a cute little game. It just looks like, it has some neat stuff going on.
And you said Skateboard Night. I expect something along the lines of, I don't know, the Game Boy version of Skate or Die or something like that. But this looks like it's a bit of a different flavor.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mhm.
Then for the stuff that I saw but didn't try, there was linked Banner of the Spark, and it just looked like this really cool top-down, like kind of sort of like three-quarter angle isometric action RPG. I'm always up for one of those. There's a game called Pip Puzzle that was basically not Puzzle Fighter, so that looked really cool.
Mhm.
Uh, there was this like 16-bit style RPG called Beloved Rapture that I think is available now, and I just haven't bought it. But it also looks like very, very retro inspired and neat. And then one of the last ones was this action game called Outrider Mako, where you're like this delivery girl, but also it's like this old-timey supernatural Japan setting, and it just looked really neat. So I'd be
Hmm.
willing to give that a try as well. But there's no shortage of things to try at PAX East, and there's no shortage of video games that are coming out. There's too many games.
Yeah, well,
But
you tell me.
those were all the things I tried. I ended up buying a couple of older games from some of the vendors. Like I got I've been looking for a copy of Super Mario World for a while, so I nabbed that. Copy of Thunder Force 2.
Mhm.
And then apparently I sold it at some point and I don't remember it, so I ended up just buying a copy of Rogue Galaxy because that's a great game to keep around.
Oh, it's
Did
been
you know?
ages since I played Rogue Galaxy.
Like, do you realize? Because I didn't remember. Level 5 kind of came out swinging with their stuff on the PS2 because there was Rogue Galaxy, Dark Cloud 2, Dragon Quest 8. Those are all amazing games, man.
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna do a ton of really great work right off the bat. Which again, going back to DQA, I didn't realize until several years later that they were the lead dev on that game. So
Yeah. Don't remember that either until you mentioned it now. But I specifically remember wanting to get Rogue Galaxy because the main character was voiced by Wolf Riddell, who also voiced Batman Beyond, and I'm a giant Batman Beyond stan, so it's like, oh goddamn, this game also giving me a bit of Skies of Arcadia vibes, so I want to check it out. And it was a fun time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a great game. But yeah, that was PAX East.
Nice.
Okay.
Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Saw a friend of a friend, and we hung out, and we went to a couple different panels, one of which we'll talk about in the news bits, I think. But we saw this one that was about accessibility in gaming, and it was this like actually pretty cool, really insightful panel that was really interesting. I went to a panel on Friday evening called Jeff's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
Dual Infinite Burst Ultra DX Climax Impact Live.
So that was hosted then by Super Eyepatch Wolf and Jeff Baccalar from Giant Bomb.
Yes, and oh god, what were their names? There was also Tamoor Hussein and Lucy Johnson?
Lucy James, I think.
Lucy James, yes. And they were there. So the description for the panel on the PAX East website is, in the spirit of the podcast, the group will present a series of anime-inspired video game clips to live react to. And if there's time, maybe some Corcus improv and a podcast Q&A. That's not what happened! Eyepatch Wolf was like, so we sort of flipped the script a little bit. So Jeff, now that you're an expert in anime, we're going to present to you clips of different shows, and you're just going to tell us what these shows are and what they're all about.
Damn.
Guess how many he got right?
2.
0!
Well, I don't even know if they watched more than JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on that podcast. So, I mean, that's how it started out. So maybe they've watched more stuff at this point. But
so they showed him clips of, oh god, what did they show? They showed him Dragon Ball. He didn't know what that was. I was like, come on.
Oh my god.
How do you not know? Like the scene where Goku goes Super Saiyan. What else was there? They showed him a clip of Cromartie High School.
Well, okay, that's kind of very niche at this point.
Yes,
but Dragon Ball he should have recognized. I feel like that's ubiquitous enough that, oh well.
I'm having trouble remembering all of the others because they went through like 5 or 6 different ones.
Yeah.
But at the end, Eyepatch Wolf was like, okay, out of all those, which one do you want to actually want to know about? And he picked Cromartie High School, and it's like, oh boy.
So I guess they're doing that next.
Maybe that'd be fun because that show is ridiculous.
I know. I mean, I've never watched it, but I've seen enough clips, and I'm like, oh god damn it.
It's just a giant goof fest. Yeah, okay. Now for real, that was actually PAX East. And I'm looking forward to going again next year. I usually hit up a couple other conventions during the year that I like to look for retro games at because I guess that's my midlife crisis shrug. There's one I wanted to go to in August, but I'm not sure logistically if I'll be able to get there, but I'll see what happens. But yeah, that was that, and I guess we can transition into what games we have played recently in the Play Buffet.
Yeah, I mean, we're already full on in it because, technically the PAX games count into that as well, I would say.
Yeah, but, kind of, but more directly to the stuff that we have been actually playing,
Yeah, let's do that. So, last time when we did our first episode of this, I talked about Nier Replicant, which I had finished at that point, and my mixed feelings on it. And of course, after that, I checked out Nier Automata, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And I like that game much more, as expected, because it was also handled by Platinum, and the fighting system is much more closer to what I like. It's your typical spectacle action game. No surprises in there, really. Like, it definitely feels like an offshoot of Bayonetta or something like that, or Devil May Cry. A bit lighter maybe, but you got your witch time stuff where you can evade on time to, slow things down, and you get your parry, and, you get different weapons that you can use and can do your air combos and shit like that. So it got all of that, and it's very fast paced, so I like that. It looks very good. Yeah, so that it had that going for it. It had an interesting. Well, I mean, Nier Replicant's world was also definitely one of its highlights, even though it was kind of limited because of the kind of mid-budget of that game. And this felt a lot more, a lot bigger, a lot more fleshed out. It was interesting because of everything, just mainly androids running around. The two main characters, 2B and 9S, were pretty interesting. And then, of course, it did the same thing that Nier Replicant did. You had to have to play through that game several times to get the full story. It's the same in Nier Automata. And I also liked the story more in this, I guess. Felt more satisfying. Like, the themes were pretty... nothing too special, I would say. There was some interesting thing going on with... in regards to memories and how they are differently perceived by different people and what meaning they have to the characters in this story, and that was pretty interesting, and how the game played with that, ha ha ha. And yeah, I like that. The antagonists were kind of all right, like. I mean, I kind of got what they were going with it, but they also were not that present actually in the story. Like, the idea, the general idea, and what it's going for was the more important thing about it. Like I said, the central theme of memories, and the journey of these characters, and what kind of role androids play in this story, especially when compared to humanity, and the history of this world, what happened to humanity, what played part of this, is very loosely connected to Nier Replicant. There are some references there, but you can also play it without ever having played Nier Replicant. Yes, there's one particular character, well, I guess 3 technically, that have a cameo in this, but also it doesn't really matter if you don't know who they are, because they have a different role in this. And there's no real reference to the main characters from Nier Replicant or anything like that. So that works. And, the world is kind of separate from that as well, because it's also far more in the future than Replicant was. So, yeah, it's interesting. The music is fantastic. Loved it a lot. And, yeah, I enjoyed that game. I don't know if it's gonna be one of my favorites. I feel like it has the same problem, even though to a much lesser extent than Nier Replicant has, as in it becomes a bit repetitive due to the replaying thing, like that being one of the main things you have to do in that game to get the full story. And yes, it's much less problematic than in Nier Replicant, because the story is much more different because you play different characters, which in Replicant only really happens in the very last playthrough, kind of. And here you switch between like 3 different characters technically, and do one for each playthrough, and then you get like a cap-off thing. I guess you play both, depending on what ending you want to go for, and that makes it much tolerable, but still, you're revisiting the same vistas a lot, even though the characters play a bit differently. And, the hacking feature of 9S is pretty interesting, but they also don't do that much with it. Like, I felt like you could have done more interesting puzzle things and stuff like that. It is interesting, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some interesting stuff they do with it, especially when it comes to actually learning about the inner workings of certain machines and stuff like that, and 9S gets much more of an insight into that due to his hacking ability and stuff like that. So that's interesting.
I mean, using the hacking thing on bosses is kind of whatever, but it's most interesting when you catch an enemy unaware and then you have more options than just blow it up, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. I mean, you can always, or most of the time, manipulate them into helping you and stuff like that. But also sometimes you get like neat little story bits or character bits for certain, machine characters that were hidden from you when you played as 2P. So that's cool. And same complaint applies to Nier Automata that applies to Nier Replicant, but also to a much lesser extent in that it is very much reveling in its tragedy in certain parts, which is like, isn't this all just fucking sad? Yes, it is. At some point, it gets a bit trite when you're just trying to hammer that home, but I feel like Nier Automata is much better about that than Replicant. Replicant is really it's very predictable. Here, it's very much more selective, and some of the big moments hit harder. And also, I feel like the ending is much more satisfying with what it's going for and everything. And has a very nice thing that it does at the end, where one particular part of the gameplay becomes kind of important, especially in the credits part and everything, and the music welling up in that moment, and that got me. That was really good. And then you get a final cutscene and everything, and that was all done very well and felt like satisfying and felt like a nice cap off point to the story, like this nice bittersweet thing going for it. And I felt it worked much better here than it did in Nier Replicant. So yeah, I really like Nier Automata. I don't know if it will go into the Olymp of my favorite action games, RPG games, or whatever. I feel like maybe I got a bit parasited, as in the game was too hyped up for me. Like everyone was raving about not necessarily Nier Replicant, because not that many people have played that, I think. But everyone was talking about Nier Automata, especially when it came out. Like everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is the hottest shit! Like this is the best thing I've ever played." Also story-wise, it's got so many interesting things going for it, and so many interesting themes that it tackles, like very differently than other games. And yeah, there are some parts where I would agree, but also there again these parts where it's like, I'm gonna go into that a bit, and then I'm not gonna do that much with it, or not as much as I would have liked. So again, liked it a lot. This is not like a takedown of this, and I liked it a lot more than Nier Replicant overall. If only because of the play style, the game design, and the fighting system. But there are games, RPGs and action games I enjoyed more and than this one. And but it was still fun, and cool character designs and everything, and a cool world. And I like that it was like nice capped off thing, which Replicant was also, with not much room for just a ham-fisted sequel or something like that. And that's also good. Like, have a finished story in here and tell some interesting side stories and everything, and have some interesting games. Again, the only thing that is a major downside to these two games, in my opinion, is the one of the main hooks, as in play the game through the game multiple times to get the full story, and thus leading to repetitiveness, which is funny, because I'm going to talk also about a game that kind of does the same thing, but maybe because it has a very different tone to it and feels much more lighthearted, it doesn't wear on you that much while you being bombarded with bad and tragic and horrible shit all the time, and having to play through that like 3 times, and getting different variations of horror and sadness and tragedy all the time might make the game overstay its welcome much faster than if you play a super lighthearted RPG. But I'll get to that. This is gonna be the last game I'm gonna talk about. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed Nier Automata.
I feel like, though, if you're not looking to 100% the game, you can just sort of blast through Automata.
Yeah.
If you're insane like me and you want to get the Y ending and spend an extra 50 hours doing it, you can also do that, but...
No, I never intended to do that. I only wanted the main story endings, and those are pretty easily to get. You just play through the game. That's it, with all the different characters.
I'm going to assume that at the end of all things, you lent your power to the next person.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I cheated a bit. I looked at what was recommended to get the best ending technically, or the intended ending, and of course that's what I did. And what happened, I expected, because Nier Replicant does the exact same thing.
Right. Were you confused in particular by one line of dialogue in the game? One particular one?
I'm not sure.
One that made you wonder about if you were thinking how much you want to be?
I mean, it's been a while now, so I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but maybe I was at the time, so...
I forget when exactly it happens in the game, but 9S is having this inner dialogue, and someone says something to him, so, like, you're thinking about how badly you want to, and then it's blanked out. And when I saw that line, when I played through the game, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I felt like it's very obvious what they're talking about. Now I get it. No, I feel like that was also surprising, that the game was actually tackling the topic of sexuality in certain parts, but I didn't expect it to. I mean, the game has certain in-jokes when it comes to tackling sexual themes, especially when it comes to its main character, right? With 2B and everything.
Just that one line when they hit you with it was like, I feel like if Taro wanted to say it, he just would. But they don't.
I mean, depending on what age that game was playable in Japan, they probably needed to bleep that thing out. And they didn't have in the US. So I feel like I doubt the translation team changed something there that wasn't, changed the dialogue to something that wasn't intended there. Maybe. I feel like Yoko Taro has enough input on his games that he would have not wanted that and would have stopped that from happening. And I feel like there is enough in that game, especially when it comes to these kind of topics, the topic of love, the topic of sexuality. I mean, these little machine in the machine village in the desert that you go to the first time. There are some machines there that just fuck, right? That is in there. There are some machines that are trying to ape humans. So it's not like the game is really hiding that it's partially talking about these kind of topics. But you're right, that line was like so very explicit in a certain way that, yeah, sure, can catch you off guard. I don't think it did catch me off guard that much. I was like, oh, okay, you're just out here saying it, all right. But I feel like subtextually, that already was in the relationship between 2B and 9S, so I wasn't surprised that the antagonist was bringing that up to throw 9S off balance. So it felt like that was something that made sense.
Mm.
So I don't know if what like Yoko Taro said about this, or would have like if anyone asked him about this, but I would be very surprised if that wasn't the initial, like if that wasn't the intent of that dialogue line. Maybe it's more explicit in the Western version than in the Japanese version because they had to bleep it out in the Japanese version due to the age limit of the game. But who knows? Not sure. I would have to look that up. But it was interesting.
Yeah,
definitely.
It looks like the age rating was slightly lower in Japan. Yeah. So it was 17 plus as opposed to everywhere else. It was 18.
Yeah, and
which I mean whoop-de-doo, big difference. But
I feel like we have seen that also in anime a lot, where it's like you see the characters actually, what they're saying, like they're actually really cursing hard there, and there's actually a bleep, or you get this intentional, I don't know, pixelated thing in front of their mouth, or their I don't know, their fingers or something as a to hide the vulgar gesture or whatever they're saying, and they play that maybe as a joke, and the subs, the official ones, just say the word, right? They don't even hide it. So I feel like this could have been a situation like that, where it's very clear that is what it was intended, but they just couldn't do it because of how the age rating works in Japan. So again, not sure. Could also be different. Could be that the localization team did a bit more than was intended by Yoko Taro. But yeah, would be interesting to look up. But yeah, great game. Play it if you've never played it before. Again, you don't have to play Nier Replicant. I thought these games would be more connected. I mean, I wanted to play Nier Replicant anyway to get like the full picture because I've never played it before. But if you don't want to check it out because whatever you heard about it or what I've said about it, maybe it's like this sounds like it's a bit maybe old or whatever. You don't have to play it to play Nier Automata, but also maybe depending on your tastes, your sensibilities, or whatever, you maybe also might like Nier Replicant more. I don't know. I think we know at least one person who does. So sure, check out both these games. But I like Nier Automata more. So let me know whatever you think, John, whenever you manage to get to Nier Replicant or get back to it.
Yeah, I'm still at the literal halfway point, so.
Then you're, well, at the actual part where the game actually starts, I guess. Okay, so another game. I mean, I could barely talk about it, or there's barely any need to talk about it, but I restarted the Blaster Master Zero series, which is like the, I guess, revamp, like remake thing of a classic, was it Sunsoft or Hudson?
Yes.
Sunsoft.
Yeah, it was Sunsoft.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one is definitely a remake, and then the other ones are like their own
I mean,
thing.
there was only one Blaster Master game for the NES, and they kind of redid the story for that with Blaster Master Zero. Inti Creates did. And then they did also Blaster Master Zero 2 and 3. I've played both 1 and 2. I haven't played 3, so, to get into the groove again, I replayed Blaster Master Zero 1. It's still a lot of fun. It's just a neat action platformer, slightly Metroidvania-ish thing. And also, when you earlier talked about Gigasword, that is kind of also employing something like that, because you are in a tank, a mobile tank thing that looks more like a buggy with a giant gun or something like that.
It really does.
Yeah, so for 3. But it's, it's super fun. It can do some cool things. It can hover. It can, some maneuver underwater at some point, but you have to unlock some of these capabilities. There's different shots, different weapons, different sub-weapons, and so on that you can use with different gauges. So that's cool. Can drive up walls at some point and something like that. And you have some puzzles in the stage. But you can also leave the tank. You have to leave the tank at certain parts to have like these mini dungeons that you need to investigate, mostly to get set new acquired features to move further through the game. And then if you're outside the tank, you're of course more vulnerable. You have fall damage and stuff like that. But that makes the game kind of varied, and it's cool. And yeah, I finished Blaster Master Zero 1 pretty quickly. I'm going to play 2 next. I remember liking Blaster Master Zero 1 more than 2. Mostly because the weapons in Blaster Master Zero 2 are absolute shit.
Yeah, I still haven't finished 2, but
yeah,
I feel like it's not as strong as 1 was.
I feel like they were trying to make them more evenly powered so that people would be, use all of them instead of just upgrading to the strongest one and then trying to keep that all the time, because the strongest weapon in Blaster Master Zero 1 is the best, and you should keep that on you all the time because it's really, really good. And I feel like in 2 they didn't do that. As a compensation, they introduced like the new kind of counter system, parry system, whatever, and that is kind of fun, and you have to employ that a lot. But also in general, I just felt like Zero 2 just didn't feel as connected because you're traveling to different planets. You're not on the same planet the entire time. So it feels much more like separate levels than a Metroidvania thing, which I don't mind. But in this case, it felt like, okay, you're doing something very different. You have to go back and forth between different planets because you're, again, unlocking capabilities. But still, I feel like I enjoyed Zero 1 more. I have not played 3 yet, so I'm very interested to eventually check that out, but I have to play Zero 2 first again. I mean, I don't have to, but I want to. And I remember there was one particular boss fight that was pretty cool and had your standard Inti thing where it's like everyone comes together and you have music playing a kind of a role in it and everything. And I'm looking forward to that because I remember that was a pretty cool, epic moment. So, yeah, Blaster Master Zero, if you like cool retro platformers, it's definitely a series you should check out. Speaking of retro
Mhm.
platformers, so if you are maybe not that dialed into the emulation scene, I guess, recently someone there was a breakthrough in porting, I guess, Xbox 360 games. You know,
Yeah, there's a big long explanation about the difference between recompilation and decompilation
mm,
that I'm not knowledgeable enough to give.
me either.
But yes, yeah, it directly ties into the game you want to speak about.
Yes, so someone recompiled Sonic Unleashed to make it playable on PC, which the game hasn't existed on the PC up to this point, and they technically just grabbed the Xbox 360 version, upgraded it, remastered it, and put it out on PC. You need to have a copy of the 360 version and rip that to be able to play it and apply the patch technically. But once you do that, you can play a very much upgraded, super remastered version of Sonic Unleashed. Because when that game came out on Xbox 360, didn't run that great.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was
Even more so on the PS3.
Yeah. So, and in a game that's all about speed, that's a problem. Even though at least half of that game is God of War, just with Sonic, but where it's not all about speed. But since I recently upgraded my PC, I was like, oh, this seems like a good idea to check this out. And I did. And it's a very mixed experience. For me, anyway, it was. I liked parts of it. I think the game looks fucking spectacular. I mean, they did some polishing, of course, aside from the frame rate. Like it's now running in 4 full K if you want to make that happen, right? And I did that, and it's just the style of the game is colorful as ever, as you expect from Sonic, and now it just looks just very pretty in high resolution, in a very good frame rate, and yeah,
The good frame rate can work against it in a couple of spots, though.
yes.
Like, I guess there's one spot in particular, one of the rooftop run stages, where you have to lower the frame rate to 49 or less.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's one of the main stages or one of the DLC stages, but if it's running 50 or higher, you miss this one trigger in order to get to the end of the stage, which is like, and I think that's a leftover artifact of the FPS boost on the Series X, because the same thing happens on actual hardware when you run it over 30 FPS. So
Interesting. I didn't run into that, but also I didn't play all the optional stages, so maybe it was one of those.
yeah, that was probably that. But yeah.
So for the people who haven't played this, who don't know about Sonic Unleashed, the game is split technically in 2 different playing sections. Like, half of the stages are day stages, the other half are night stages. In the day stages, you play the normal 3D Sonic from I guess behind Sonic perspective, and just run through the levels in this sometimes somewhat third person perspective, sometimes in a 2D perspective, and you have to get to the end to reach the goal. And the other half, the night stages, you turn into a werehog and just battle enemies God of War style with combos and everything. And then you have to battle a boss or whatever. And that's the game.
Yeah, that's more or less it.
Yeah. People, I think when the game came out, a lot of people complained about the God of War stages, like the werehog stages, because it's not what they associate with Sonic. It's not fast at all. Like, it's very slow paced. And some of these stages are very long, especially when compared to the very short and breezy day stages where you just run, quick through it in a couple of minutes. And then you got the night stages, sort of just very long, very dragged out fights and everything.
I learned after the fact in a lot of the night stages, you don't have to fight all of the enemies. So,
Yeah.
that would have been useful knowledge in retrospect, but
Yeah.
if you're going into it now with that knowledge, then it's good knowledge to have.
But, I fought every enemy that came across my path because, that's the fighting system is not bad. It's very basic. It's like baby's first God of War, baby's first Devil May Cry, whatever. Very simple combo system. You unlock new moves, and that's like most of the stuff I did with my upgrades because everyone says like, you can play the game through the game with only 3 moves at your disposal. You can do the same 3-hit combo all the time. Why the fuck would I do that? Like that takes all the fun out of it. Why would the hell you go? I never understood that. You go into the FAQs and they're like, well, you don't need to upgrade the moves because you can just win the game with the basic 3-hit combo. And like, what? Why?
I mean, yeah, I get it from both sides, but it's like,
it's not like
why don't you want to have fun?
Exactly. Why don't you want to have fun? Like stringing together long, cool combos and just being able to annihilate a wave of enemies with one long combo and a big swoop that also looks pretty cool. It's like
you mean to tell me you're gonna sit down and play Devil May Cry and not do a stinger into a million stab, into a launcher, into a high time, into a spike? You're not gonna do that? You're not gonna have fun with the toys they give you?
I mean, if you have trouble doing that, then that's another discussion. But like, if you're somewhat capable in these games, I feel like why would you bar yourself from that just to maybe get a bit more health or being able to or a bit more strength just to, I guess, to get through it quicker. I get that, but also I feel like that would make it even more dragged out because you're doing the same thing over and over again, always the same combo again and again and again. And I didn't want to do that, so I upgraded my moveset mostly. And that was a good decision because that kept it at least varied enough to make the stages not feel as stale as they could have felt. But still, some of them felt pretty damn long. And but I didn't hate them. I rather enjoyed some of them. I enjoyed some of the boss fights. I think I had more problem with the day stages and in general the controls of Sonic when he was in speed mode because he felt completely uncontrollable to me in this game. Like, I don't know if it was as bad in Sonic Generations and I don't remember that anymore, but I felt like a fucking pinball in this game. Like, I was just hitting boundaries all the time and suddenly I'm falling into water and am dead immediately because that's the other problem of this game. It's like you technically have a health bar with the rings and everything, but there's so many things that kill you immediately. And I don't feel like you have good control over the character, I fell into drops a lot. Like, fell off buildings, fell into the water, like ran into spikes. I don't know. I don't know if it was too fast for me, but sometimes I just felt like the character wasn't doing what I told him to do. And that felt frustrating. And that is okay if the stage is very short and, you get your standard 5 lives. If you don't manage to do it, you can just restart the stage again and it's fine. I managed to do most of them on the first try without getting a game over, so that was okay. The problem is the very last stage, which is Eggman Land.
Oh god, Eggman Land is terrible. There's no two ways about it.
And that broke me. That was like, because you get to a point where there is just sudden death all around you, and the character controlled so badly and randomly, in my opinion, that I felt like the game was just killing me and I couldn't do anything about it, and also wasn't my fault. Because I jumped, I pressed jump, I did jump, and for some weird buggy physics bullshit reason, now the character just bounced off this wall and just died again. And then...
Let's do speedrun strats, forehead.
Yeah, I guess. And then, you have to start over again, and the problem is this stage is super long. Like, you have to go from the very beginning again, and the stage is like, I don't know, how long is it ultimately? Like 1 hour, John, or something like that?
My first time finishing the game back in the day, I remember distinctly my run of Eggman Land took like 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, I know the speed run time is like under 2 minutes now because Unleashed is so busted.
Yeah,
But I don't know what the mean average of runs on Eggman Land with. Okay, there's a video here. Speed run without any of the skips, 8 minutes and 47 seconds.
that is
So
pretty fast.
yes, that's ridiculously fast.
Yeah, but it didn't feel
But
like that to me.
it definitely. I remember seeing the timer say over 40 minutes, and I got the worst rank, and I was like, "Okay, the stage is done. Just take me to the final boss. Let's go."
I don't even give a shit. After the first stage, I gave up on ranks. Like I was like, okay, I got E. Who gives a shit? I got D. I don't care. Like whatever.
Yeah. I don't even know. I think I got maybe 2 or 3 S ranks, and I was like, that's good. That's nice.
I think I got like 1, yeah, or 2 S ranks and some A ranks, but like a lot of the
It's
daytime stages especially were like super bad for me. So because I felt like I didn't know what I couldn't control the character the way I wanted to.
it's like all the people out there who have gone through and gotten all A ranks in Sonic Adventure 2. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. Like the lightspeed dash. No, not the lightspeed dash. The lightspeed dash was doing what it's supposed to do, but the normal dash like did sometimes was executed when I didn't want it to, and I don't know, it behaved differently. And I think that is also has been confirmed that it acts differently in this game than in the other Sonic games, than in Adventure, than in Sonic Generations. And something about that was apparently the thing that just didn't work for me because I just felt frustrated a lot in this game. Sometimes also in the night stages because there were like jumping puzzles, like if you wanted to collect the emblems and stuff like that to get to the next stage, which is the other part of that. You need to collect a certain amount of emblems from stages. There are 2 different styles of emblems: night emblems and sun emblems and moon emblems. And to unlock the new stages, and not only optional stages, but main story stages, you have to have a certain amount of these emblems. And collecting some of these is just bullshit. Like, there's some jumping parts in the night stages where it's like, how the fuck did I die here? That's not fucking possible. And then you have to go a really long part to get to that stage again, and to get to that emblem again. And on the other side of things, it's in the day stages, some of these are just, you have to have the reaction time of a god to get them on the first try. And if you don't, well, then either you can let yourself go game over and try from the last checkpoint again, or you try the entire stage again. And, you know, playing that without a fucking FAQ video or something like that felt kind of like, okay, all right. So eventually I switched over, looked at YouTube, like, where do I get these emblems? And, you know, looking for them felt like it would would really make me really mad, because sometimes I looked at how many emblems there are supposed in a daytime stage. Like, where were they? I didn't see any of them. The game is too fast. Where were these emblems? Like, I have no fucking idea where we have to go. So
yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, so I looked up YouTube videos, like, oh, that's where it was. And eventually I got enough emblems. But that didn't save me from Eggman Land. And so I didn't finish the game. That rarely happens. Like, I might go back to it, and like there's one stage where you can just stock up on lives, which is also a weird thing. Like, if you have a game with so much sudden death and such a brutal final stage, just give me a good way to either stockpile lives, which they apparently did, or there are shops in this game. Wait, just let me buy lives, for fuck's sake.
I mean, but there's other things you can buy with your rings instead. But yeah, there's definitely
buy life replenishing things, but it doesn't do you any good if you just die.
Yeah, it's yeah, I know there is one stage in particular that gives you like 3 or 4 extra lives. I don't remember which one it is, but it does exist. So
there's one overworld stage in, I forgot what it's called, that big Venetia stage.
Begonia?
Yeah. Where you can get like 5 lives or something like that. And that's probably what I would do if I ever go back to it. But also, I'm not super motivated to do so. I might just check out. I want to fight Eggman, kinda I want to have that final boss fight, and I hate leaving games unfinished. I rarely do that. I always finish my games. Always, 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 always. Like, there's so very few games that I didn't finish. So this is kind of gnawing on me. So I kind of want to go back to it at some point and finish that final stage. But it's also it's really trying to keep me from doing that. So I don't know if there's a cheat I can apply where it's like, yeah, you just unlimited lives. Maybe it's out there somewhere that I can make maybe some cheat engine thing that also would work on the recompiled version of this. I don't know. I need to look it up. Because, there's no real difference there if I stockpile it and just waste a bunch of hours on that. Or if I just activate the cheat and it's like, well, now I have unlimited lives. So that doesn't make the game really any easier, but it alleviates the horrors of maybe getting to the final boss fight, then with one life dying there and then having to do the stage all over again, stockpile the lives all over again. So I don't want to do that. So I'm probably going to look into if there's a way to cheat there. Because it's a single-player game and I'm old and I don't give a fuck. So, yeah, that was my experience with Sonic Unleashed. Like I said, pretty game, and it's really nice that we now have, through the hands of very capable people and fans and everything, have a chance to get great ports, great updated ports of 360 games. Like, there are a bunch of games that I would like to see great, graphically upgraded with higher resolution, better frame rate version of a certain 360 game. For example, Lost Odyssey. Like, give me a really good port, recompiled port of the 360 version of Lost Odyssey. I would love
Lost
to
Odyssey,
have that.
Blue Dragon, just like
Blue
both of the big
Dragon.
Mistwalker games. Like, Blue Dragon is, I have said it before, I'll say again, it basically just wants to grow up to be Dragon Quest, but it's still a fun game.
Yeah. Like, give me that. There are a bunch more on 360 that I would like to have, like, a good PC version of. Dead to Rights Retribution. I'm probably the only person who still remembers that game. But I love playing that the police guy with his dog Shadow and playing. There are not enough games where you can play a cool police dog and have him do stealth sections and being able to take out guys from the Shadow, which is his name. So I really liked. I actually like the dog sections of this game a lot more. And I'm not that big of a stealth guy, but that just did it for me. It was really cool playing like a cool police dog there who was able to take out these bad guys. The way you play as owner is a bit very basic, like third-person shooting and fighting sections. But the dog sections were cool, so I would like to see that franchise revived. That will never happen, but maybe some weird fanboy will do a recompiled version of that. We'll see. Would be nice.
I mean, I see a few games on my shelf here that I'd like to see either get ports or get like backwards compatibility updates, even though I guess Microsoft is apparently done doing that on Xbox One and Series X, which is stupid, but
even
I
better
figured
that
you
we
would
now
want
got
to
that recompiled thing going.
I figured you would want to get as close to 100% back compat as possible, but
Well,
what do I know? You can still only play Halo 5 on an Xbox One. You can still only play Gears of War 4 on there. You can still only play Project Sylphid on Xbox 360. Like, come on, man.
is there no PC version for Gears of War 4?
No.
Oh, okay.
The only PC versions for Gears of War are right now 5? Yeah, Gears of War 5, Gears Tactics, who cares? There's a remake of Gears 1 coming out and Reloaded, which is cool that's finally getting a port. But what about, there's a new game in the works called E-Day. What about 2, 3, and 4, you idiots? You could still only play those on 360 and Xbox One and Series consoles.
I mean, if they do a remake of 1, chances might not be super low that they do one of 2 and 3 at least.
That'd be nice. And I feel like I'm one of 5 people on the face of this green earth that liked Gears 4. I still think it was a cool game.
Always interested in checking it out. I mean, I liked 1, 2, 3 well enough, and I always wanted to check out 4 and 5. I don't know if the new story with the new characters actually finished after 5. They always felt like, okay, this is going to be another trilogy, right? And we haven't seen anything for Gear 6 yet.
I mean, maybe no. E-Day is probably
E-Day is a prequel. Yeah, this is definitely about Emergence Day. So I don't know whenever we're gonna get 6, and I also don't know. Maybe the story is finished after 5. I haven't played it, so
yeah, I still have not gotten to it. But I'm also one of those weirdos who really liked Halo 4 and 5. I don't know. I get that people really don't like 5. I was like, the game was okay, but letting it just rot on Xbox One seems like kind of a shame because how many years has the Master Chief Collection been out? Come on, this is a no-brainer. Like, when they were like, oh, yeah, so the Master Chief Collection is 1, 2, and 3. Oh, that's neat. And then later on, they were like, oh, also 4. And then later on, they're like, oh, also ODST, which is like, yeah, okay, so we have all the greatest hits. Just give us the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bro.
Be nice.
Oh, you can play Halo 5 Forge on PC. I don't care about Forge. Making maps and then not being able to do anything with it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, maybe eventually there'll be a collection or something like that. Who knows? I feel like
the collection is there. They just have to add one more game to it. And nobody cares about Halo Wars. Like, a friend of ours who's a big Halo chink, he was like, no, so Halo Wars can go. And it's like, all right.
Yeah. It's like the same situation as the new Capcom fighting collection. Why is Capcom Fighting Jam in there? Nobody wanted that game. Why did you pick that? Like, you had a bunch of... Why is fucking Techromancer not in there? That would have made much more sense.
I mean, maybe that'll be in Fighting Collection 3. Listen, I get what you're saying. Like, games preservation is important. At this point,
Square games.
Listen. At this point, Square has re-released all of the Saga games except for Unlimited Saga, and that's the weird one. Like the really like Saga as a whole is weird. Unlimited Saga is like, what is this game? But it deserves to be preserved so people can see what it was all about.
Okay.
Just freaking how there's like some statistic that like 87% of games are no longer available to purchase. That's a problem.
I agree. I totally am about game preservation. I just
so
I would give like the the center stage, the floor to the good games first, and then you can tackle maybe the shitty ones.
But okay, fine. But we've gotten a bunch of really great games in Fighting Collection 1 and 2. So true. I feel like it's fine to be like, okay, here's the weird one.
Yeah, sure.
And then we can sort of usher past. Like, at least they didn't put SVC Chaos in there. At least that's off on its own release.
Probably only because it is still owned by SNK and they can't put it in the Capcom collection. So.
But I think
that recently got a re-release, didn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think it was published, but okay, no, it was published by SNK. It was worked on by Code Mystics. So,
okay. Right.
But yeah, yes.
All right. Reboot. But anyway, my copy of CVS2, yeah, that too. Of Capcom Fighting Collection has shipped, and I'm looking very much forward to playing, especially Project Justice and Plasma Sword again, because those games are weird, and I love them 2 bits, and I'm looking forward to checking them out. Of course, the big ones like CVS2 and Power Stone as well.
Right. So while we're on that subject, there's this big show floor at PAX where they play like different games and have like a big stream, I think, on their Twitch channel. Like, they were running a big Tekken 8 tournament, Jesus, all weekend long. And they had this thing Saturday afternoon where it's like, oh, we're going to have a big Power Stone 2 exhibition. And up on stage were Unruly, who's Kenny from like the old video games. You probably see him on like Maximilian Dude's videos. But Xavier Woods was also there because he's also big into games, all on up down down. So they were, and I got there late, but they were, I guess, at one point bringing people in from the audience to play alongside. They were doing like 2v2 matches, and then later on they had, I think, they had a couple other streamers on there. I think what's his name? Chloe Thompson. Or no,
Ring a
Chloe
bell?
Thomas, I think. Yeah, Chloe Thomas. Or Cleo Thomas. Jesus Christ. Um, and then one other in there as well. And they were going and they were playing Power Stone 2 and they were having a good time. And Kenny was showing off this belt that he has and saying this is my game. This is my game. You can't take it from me. And then at one point, who walks out onto stage but Kenny Omega?
Ah, very nice.
And he and Xavier Woods start having a stupid wrestler beef.
Of course.
And they go back and forth, and they're playing Power Stone 2 on teams, and Kenny O is definitely holding Kenny back because he was so bad at Power Stone 2. So Kenny, unruly, it was just like winning 2v1s at one point, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, y'all are awful. There's one good person on this stage. So then they switch over to CVS 2 and they do a bit of that, and it was a great time. That was super fun to watch live. So
neat.
Yeah. And it was obviously a big promotion piece, but they were also like, "Hey, play video games because they're good and they're fun."
Yeah, I'm just glad that these collections are back. I kind of missed my window on the Fighting Collection 1 because I didn't pay much attention to it because it didn't have many games in it that I was interested in. I never got into Darkstalkers. Just like, maybe get this eventually, and then I was like, oh shit, now it's super expensive. so I want to have a physical copy of that.
The physical version?
Yeah.
Yeah, that stinks that it went up then.
Yeah, but at least I got a physical of Marvel vs. Capcom collection and now the Fighting Collection 2, which has at least the games that I definitely want to play in there. And I'm looking forward to doing that soon, whenever that arrives here. But the last game that was already here and I actually played, and I referred to earlier in terms of having to replaying the same shit again. Not having to, but wanting to. It's the Trials of Mana remake. And that game has somewhat interesting history. And, it's the sequel to Secret of Mana, technically, or the third game in the Seiken Densetsu franchise. And that never technically came out in the US, as far as I'm aware, until the Mana collection recently. So,
which is really funny because people found you can rip the game out of there and just play it on an emulator.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's how most people probably played it the first time. So did I. Played it on an emulator with my friend Alex, who you also know. And we had a fun time back in the day playing that on Super Nintendo emulator. Behaves a bit differently than Secret of Mana. It's a bit slower in certain parts, but what's interesting about it, it has different story path. You have like 6 characters, and technically all of them have individual storylines, which is very cool. Technically you always have a team of 2 characters. I mean, your party eventually has 3 characters, but 2 of them are kind of connected in their story paths. The third one is kind of always just an add-on to that. And halfway through the game, the third character's story kind of ends or is forgotten about until the very end. And the main drive are your 2 main characters that you pick. And you should always pick the ones that kind of belong together. So Duran and Angela, Kevin and Charlotte, and Hawkeye and Reese. Those are the teams that kind of belong together. And the third character is whatever you want to pick. And then you have, depending on which character you choose as your main character, you also, have a slightly different story there. And it's pretty cool and pretty fun. It's a very light, kid-friendly action RPG. And that stays the same in the remake. Now, the remake is, of course, not the typical 2D, somewhat isometric, but not really view that Secret of Mana also had. It's fully 3D. And the sad thing about it is it doesn't have multiplayer, which was always the main drive, which I like the most about about Secret of Mana, and also the original Trials of Mana. which it didn't have that title because it didn't come out in the West until recently. It was just Second Densetsu 3. Or Secret of Mana 2, someone just changed that, like when they did the emulated version of that, like fan translation and everything. But now Trials of Mana is the official name. They even say that in the Japanese dub. Seiken Densetsu 3 Trials of Mana.
That's right, they do.
Yeah, which is cool. But yeah, so it's fully 3D now, and lets you traverse the world and got more interest. It's all a bit more stuff they put in there. You also have a bit longer of a post game and everything. You have more character classes that you can upgrade to, which is probably the coolest thing about this game. I haven't played that many games that actually have you like where your character classes are upgraded at a certain point. And that in this game, you just get to, I think first is level 18 and then level 32. You can upgrade your character to a new class. And with that comes, you do have an extended combo. You get new moves. You get a different outfit. And you can always choose between light and dark path. And depending on what you choose, you get later a fully light, coded character, fully dark coded character, or a mix between the two. So light, dark, dark, light, and dark, dark. And different skill sets, of course, that come with that. And that keeps the fighting system, even though it's very basic, rather varied in terms of what moves your character have at their disposal, and also makes it very interesting to experiment with different character party setups, right? Because depending on what class you choose down the road, it might be a better support class, it might be a better main character class, it might be a classic damage dealer, or more of a, have like buff and debuff magic and stuff like that. And that's very cool. And I like that a lot. And that's still present in the remake version of the game, even more so. Like, definitely have more things, and especially in the post-game, you get one additional character class, one final fourth class that you didn't have before. And that's also pretty neat. And yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Like, you have an upgraded soundtrack. The soundtrack of the SNES version was already fucking spectacular. What a main theme, and everything in there sounds great. But now they also employ a full orchestra for a lot of the songs and everything. There's more budget in that game than I would have expected.
I forget. I started playing this game and I didn't finish it. Do you have the option to toggle between soundtracks?
Yes. You can play with the classic soundtrack.
I love when games do it. Like the Super Mario RPG remake did this well, and I'm like, that's a good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, always give the players more options. And like I said, the original soundtrack is already fantastic, but I played, at least in the first 2 runs that I did, I played with the redone soundtrack because it's really good. Like, when they did the Secret of Mana remake, which was definitely more low budget than this, I put a lot more budget into this one. They also remade the soundtrack, and that was much more experimental. And on a lot of tracks, it felt like Kikuta was just letting the other artists do whatever they want with his original tracks, and that sometimes worked out, and sometimes it definitely didn't. And this feels like a much more straightforward upgrade of that soundtrack, with just better instrumentation and everything, or maybe not even better, but just higher quality. I don't know, more instruments, more complex, whatever. So, and outside of that, the tracks are just completely recognizable and sound kind of the same, just, upgraded, remastered, remade. And it's just great. And so is the whole game. It's, like I said, the game is very basic. It's very much intended for a younger audience. It's not complicated. You got your ring menu, you got your thing, you let your characters do. You can control all your 3 characters. You can switch between them. And if you don't control them yourself, the AI controls them. The AI is dumb as dog shit. So that can cause some problems, because you have some bosses and enemies that have your typical like area of effects for their moves. And you know how to evade those. Your AI buddies necessarily don't. There's one particular boss in this game, which is the Demon Wall, which fucking has hazardous AoE effects everywhere, and you need to dodge roll constantly. And those stupid AI buddies of mine, the first time I fought this, they rolled into every fucking attack. Like, it even makes more sense to just play with one character, so let the other two die and finish that thing off yourself instead of trying to revive all the other characters and keep them alive all the time. Because it's just micromanagement to up the wazoo. It's ridiculous. But outside of that, it's a very basic fighting like concept. Mostly just your one combo. Technically, you have. I mean, you can do different variations of that one combo, but you only have 2 buttons: one light attack, one strong attack, and you can't do that much with it. Depending on when you do the strong attack, you have a slightly different attack that you end the combo with. But outside of that, it's not much. It becomes much more interesting when you go into the magic, and when you go into the special moves, and when you go into the different buffs. You can upgrade different character stats, and with each stat you upgrade, you also get different substats that you can equip your characters with. So you have to make a decision there. Like, you can't pick, you only have like 2 slots per class upgrade. So the first basic class, you get 2 slots where you can equip special skills on. Then with the next upgrade, you get 4. With the one after that, you get 6, and so on. And depending on what you choose there, your character becomes more suitable to be a support character, or to be, to be a tank, to be a damage dealer, to be a healer, whatever. And so that's very cool. And it just plays very well. It just plays very breezy and easily, and it's just a very laid-back experience most of the time. Some bosses are a bit tough on the first run-through if you don't know what you're doing. Like I said, the Demon Wall is probably the main example here. But if you just don't evade battles too much, which you can do in a lot of cases, but if you just normally fight through the game, you very quickly become very powerful. And then if you also upgrade to the right class, depending on what character constellation you have good character synergy. Like Duranus can be leveled up to be a very good tank, and he has a skill where he can just provoke the enemies, so they all just dogpile him instead of you. And then you can just him take the main damage, and you can raise his HP a lot and stuff like that. So classic tank behavior, and you can focus on damage dealing and so on. So I always kept him as the 3rd character in my party because he's the only character who can do that, and so I can focus on actually doing the damage and throwing out giant ass spells with Angela and stuff like that. You have an element system, which is very basic but also works really well. And it's just a very fun, not too complex system, and some very interesting, varied worlds. You have an overworld map that you later can travel through, first with a giant-ass turtle, and then with your Flammy, the main mascot dragon of the Mana series, I would say, that you could already travel around on in Secret of Mana, and now you can do in this one as well. And, that's fun. And you have a bunch of different styled worlds. You have an ice world, fire world, of course. You have desert. You have a town that is where it's night all the time and stuff like that. A giant kingdom, and then little areas in between that you have to travel to. It's just a nice game with a cool journey. The journey aspect is also very enforced in this. And yeah, it's very nice. You have cool characters in there. Very basic, not like they don't have deep character stories or anything at all. It's a game from the Super Nintendo era. Like games with a bit more fleshed out characters like Chrono Trigger and stuff like that were few and far between. So don't expect too much. It's just very basic. And the dub, I think, is also not great. From what I heard, I played it with the Japanese dub, of course. And especially a lot of people were complaining about Charlotte because she has this very baby-ish way of speaking, and you still see that in the text where it's like this. There are some letters in there that shouldn't be in there in certain words, and she really like, oh, this little thing. She talks like that all the time, and that I assume that can get annoying, but in Japanese it wasn't as bad. And
I remember people having thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, but that can be circumvented. So I just had a good time, and once you're done with the game, like I said, you have the post game, which is just pretty much you upgrade to your new character classes, but to do that, you go through like a little post main story, little character quest that kind of is a nice cap-off point for each individual's character's story. So I'm pretty glad they added that. So that was fun. Like that's really cool. The not so fun part is what comes after that, because it's just a giant ass dungeon that is very long and where you just fight all the enemies that you kind of know, and it just doesn't end. It's very long. You have a pretty cool boss fight at the end of it, but I was like, I'm not going to do that again. But these little character stories that you can do after the fact to be able to get the MacGuffin item to upgrade to your final class, those are pretty cool. Like, they are very nice cap-off points for the individual character stories that you actually don't get in the main game and that you didn't get in the old version of the game. So it's nice they added that. It felt very satisfying for a lot of the characters, or all of them pretty much, to have that added on. So that's a nice thing. That's something that I want to see in remakes like that, where it's like, hey, maybe get a bit more out of the characters for this. And they did that, and I'm glad they did that. And yeah, then you have New Game Plus, and you can play through the entire game again, just with different characters, which is what I did. I first played with a team of Angela, Duran, and Reese, and then with Kevin, Charlotte, and Duran again. And then the last thing I'm going to do is play with Hawkeye, Reese, and Duran, but I haven't gotten to that yet. But that's really, like, all I can say about it. It's just a nice, old schooly, very basic, very easy to play action RPG that doesn't demand a lot of you in most cases, especially not a New Game Plus, because you're so overpowered at that point, especially if you collect all the little cacti mini game. You can find these little cacti characters in the game, and they give you additional boons, and one of them is like 300% more EXP constantly.
300.
And that raises you to an absurdly overpowered level in the New Game Plus so quickly that you're just mopping the floor with every enemy, which also makes it much faster to play through the game again. That is a given in New Game Plus, because you are already over leveled, at least with the character that you played before. The problem is you want to play with the new characters, and those are not leveled up yet. So you ideally you keep one character around that is already, leveled to the maximum, and then the new ones you can buff up with that boon buff I said before, with the 300% thing. But you play through the game very quickly, and even more quickly on the third run probably. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with Trials of Mana Remake. It was just a really nice, relaxing experience for, like, hey, okay, I'm done with work, just want to play something relaxing, maybe have something running on the side, on a third screen or second screen or something on the side, or listen even to a podcast sometimes. And that game enables you to do that. It's not very demanding. For some people this might be boring, or it's like, oh, this is too easy or whatever, or to say, but it was exactly what I needed. And it just felt very satisfying and fun, and just was a breezy time. And I can recommend that game to anyone who's into slightly old schoolish action RPGs that are a bit on the lighter side and don't demand you to read into it too much. You maybe should look up party constellations, like what makes the most sense, but most of the characters are pretty self-explanatory in terms of, if you look at their skill set at least once, I'm like, okay, this character should be used mostly as a buff character. But again, you can level the characters up in different way. You can go the dark path, you can go the light path, you can do a mix of both in two different ways, and depending on what you do, you might have a different gaming experience. So it's really nice that the game gives you that option. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun in the last run through. I'm very sure of that. And yeah, lighthearted fun. Trials of Mana Remake. Highly recommended, and I did not expect to like it as much as I did, but here we are. Really, really fun time. So, John, you also played 2 games, I think.
I mean, my list isn't quite as long, and I haven't really finished anything since then, but
you checked it out, so.
I did start, so I've been running through my second playthrough of Final Fantasy 16 at a very labored pace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because in order to get the platinum, they expect you to finish the game 2 times in full because they decide to lock hard mode behind finishing the game, which is kind of stupid to be honest. But the last boss I was fighting, I was sort of having a little bit of a crash out because I was getting really frustrated. Because even though your levels are higher, it doesn't feel like it scales the way it should.
Mm.
So I'm there at level 70 fighting this boss, and it's like I don't feel like I'm level 70 anymore, man. Like it doesn't feel like the numbers are going up enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. And I like the game, but I'm really wondering if it's worth doing this. Maybe I'll
Mm.
just go back to my end game save from normal mode and play the DLC that way because both of the DLCs have trophies for finishing them on hard mode, and it's like,
Mm. Are the DLCs worth it? Have you heard anything about it?
apparently they're really good.
Oh,
So
cool. I mean, I had no really any intention to go back to 16. I felt a bit, I don't know, mixed on that, on the story and everything. I don't
yeah,
know how
I
you
mean,
felt about it when the story was said and done.
yeah, I mean, it surely was a Final Fantasy story, but
Yeah,
I don't think it was. I don't think it was bad by any means, but I
no.
sort of walked away from it like, yeah, okay,
It
all
was
right.
trying to go for a bit of more of a serious route, right? It was definitely inspired by Game of Thrones in certain parts.
Mm,
And I like that. I loved the presentation in that game. It's fucking
hmm.
incredible. It was just, I felt like by the end, I felt like it was missing something. And I can't even fully put my finger of it. I talked about it with another friend of ours, where it's like, you always feel like the game is pulling itself back in certain parts of the story, where it's like, okay, it's trying to go for that, and then it doesn't. And the ending felt like that too a bit, where it's like, what are you actually going for here? What are you actually trying to do aside from being a tragedy?
Well, after
Um,
Clive resolved his mommy issues,
I
the only
guess.
thing left to do is gotta go kill God,
Yes. I mean, I'm
which is sort
fine with
of,
that, and it was like the final fight was a blast, but it's still like story wise, I felt like it
it
left
could
some
have been a
things
little
to be
bit more.
desired, and
Yeah.
that was a bit of a bummer. I had a fun time with that game, fun enough, but it was not like I didn't feel the urge to go back to it. But if you say the DLC is supposed to be really good, maybe I should.
It's weird because I don't feel like the bosses were the slogs in normal mode that they are in hard mode. Like the last big thing I did was fighting Titan. I feel like that took like twice as long compared to normal mode. And it's like, then what's the point of giving us 50 extra levels if you're just going to double the health pool of every boss fight and make it last even longer, man? It just doesn't feel good.
I mean, that's one approach to hard mode, but also one I'm not a fan of. Give the bosses different moves that are maybe more hard hitting and make
S-
that difficult. That's
Some of them do have that,
okay.
but boy, when they hit, it's just like, well, I guess you're spending at least 2 to 3 potions, and I've gone through my hard mode run with the experience accessories on because I want to get as much XP as possible
Hmm.
so then I don't have to grind as much toward the end game because it's like, well, I'm going to have to get to at least level 90, probably all the way to level 100 at the end of the game if the level numbers are about the same.
Hmm.
As I think a lot of people I saw playing straight through the game, not doing any grinding because I did a lot of grinding because I was like, well, I want to fill in the skill grid. I want to get everything, and that led to me getting to level 50. That led to me getting about 600,000 gil, so I don't have to worry about money in my second playthrough, which is nice.
Hmm.
But from what I saw, a lot of people were finishing the game around like level 47.
Hmm.
So by that metric, they're probably expecting you to finish New Game Plus on hard mode between like 94 and 96, which is still a ways off. And I'm like 2/3 of the way through the game, and I don't think unless I'm actively grinding XP that I'm going to naturally get there.
Mm.
Plus, because I also want to get, the best sword in the game, which means I have to do all the side quests again, which is fine because the second playthrough of this game is a lot faster because of skipping all the cutscenes.
Yeah.
But that means having to do all the hunts again, and some of the hunts are terrible. Like especially, I don't remember the name of it, but the S rank one, the dragon, that one isn't awful to fight on normal mode. So I can only imagine how terrible it is on hard mode.
Yeah, I remember that being.
So I'm just like, oh, do I want to do this to myself? So I kind of put the game down, and I've been having to think about it, and I'm like, you know what? If I go back to it, I'll just load up my end of the game normal mode save and just do the DLC that way.
Does this game have proper like New Game Plus if you just want to play through it on normal again?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried.
Mm.
And also, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure if hard mode starts you at level 50.
Mm.
I mean, I guess it would make sense considering everything's scaled. Because if they started you at level 1, boy, that's an uphill climb.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said, I don't dislike FF16, but it makes me want to just, like, reconsider what I'm doing with my life.
Hey, welcome to my Sonic Unleashed experience.
Yeah, about that. I'm sorry.
So how did you feel about the other game?
But yeah, that's not the only 16 I played. The other 16 I played was Doom 2016, and I'm not done with it. I'm like 4 out of like 13 missions into it, and I don't know if you knew this. I might be a few years late to the party, but that game's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that it's fast and frantic, but it's not too fast. I feel like I can still sort of keep up with what's going on without losing myself in the action, because you get into some wild firefights in that game. But they give you so many tools and so many weapons. Like, I think with some of the secrets I have found some weapons way earlier than I should have. Like, I think, the plasma rifle, and I'm like, the second mission? And I was like, I don't think I should have this, but they're giving it to me, so yes, I will take it.
I feel like the gameplay loop in that game is just pretty well thought out, where it's like, hey, okay, you use your guns. If you're low on ammo, you use the chainsaw. You get back your ammo again. If at a certain point you can unleash your whatever it's called, unlimited attack.
Glory kills, yeah.
Yeah. So all of that just works very well, like chains very well into each other. So that's pretty good.
I really appreciate when they give you the chainsaw. I was like, well, every time I want to use this, I'm gonna have to open up the weapon wheel to pull it out, and that seems a little clunky. But then they were like, no, it's just the X button. And I was like, oh, that's a smart choice. Okay,
so that you use it all the time because you need
yeah. Sometimes I forget it's there, but when I do, I'm just like, when I look at my ammo counts, I was like, all right, rev her up, let's go, baby.
Yeah.
It just feels so good, and it's so visceral. I'm not super all about like disgustingly violent games, which that is Doom's pedigree, but and I've been wanting to play this for a long time, so I finally decided, well, Doom the Dark Ages is out. Maybe I should play one of the older ones. And I'm probably going to go back and play more. I'm probably going to go back and play more of it tonight and this week, because I was having a really good time. One of the first things I did was I got enough Praetor upgrades to just be like, all right, show me where all the items are on the map, and then I'll explore and find the secrets after that. I feel like that was the good choice. Then everything else can come after.
I had
weapon mods.
I had a lot of fun with that game when I played it. I played it twice. I bounced off Eternal the first time I played it because it feels very differently. But
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna get
heard
back to
that.
that eventually as well because I feel like the gimmick with the hook sounds very interesting, and Dark Ages look pretty cool, and everyone says it rocks. So eventually, I'll get back into that franchise again.
I had heard that Dark Ages is even more different in
Yeah,
comparison, but that it's still a good game. So
it sounds like it's much more melee based than 16 and Eternal.
yeah, I guess you always have the shield, and you
Mm-hmm.
can do like round trips with them, like you're a Devil May Cry character. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, that still sounds cool.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't realize. I thought Doom 2016 was just like a lot more straight in its mechanics. I didn't realize there was like, oh, there's different upgrades you can get. There's weapon mods. I was like, oh, so they were like just they were cooking with this one because you can do all sorts of stuff with like here's a shotgun that fires a grenade. You can use it to fire a 3-round burst, and then I get the super shotgun, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
I was
Oh.
like, okay, I need to look up what is the best upgrade path for each gun because I don't want to put any points into the wrong one. So I was like, I was so afraid to choose the wrong one. But yeah, the arsenal in that game is fucking ridiculous.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
honestly, it doesn't feel like there's a wrong choice
yeah,
because,
maybe.
like, I was messing around with the grenade mod for the normal shotgun, and normally when you get it, there's like, I don't know, maybe half a second before the grenade is ready to shoot. There is a very clear first upgrade to choose on that one, so it makes it so that your grenade shot is ready instantly the moment you pull down the left trigger. And I was like, this is a good. I
Yeah.
like this.
The soundtrack is also great in that game
Oh
by Mick
yeah.
Gordon. Shame that there was such a falling out and drama on the second game, and
Yeah.
kind of the soundtrack got kind of fucked up in the process. But in this first one, it's fucking ridiculous. It's very, very, very well done and adds a lot to the frantic pace and combat situations. It's really cool.
Mhm.
Yes.
But yeah, I look forward to playing more of that. Like I said, I want to try and work on it this week. I have a few days off later in the week that I'll probably try and put some time in. So yeah, I've been trying to get away from playing just FF14, but you know,
It's not always easy, but you're getting to it. So
I'm
one
I'm
by one.
trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying, man.
One game at a time. And I guess that's it for the play buffet. We're gonna move over to the few news bits we have.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a bit of news.
Yeah, right. We got a few news bits here. Not too many, not too big stuff, because we're already running very long, and we want to get to our discussion section. But yeah, the last time we talked, we just watched like the announcement trailer for the Switch 2, and since then there was an actual direct with some games and some more details on the specs and all of that. So won't go into all of these really in detail because it's been a while since that was announced. So I feel like that is a bit moot. But John, general impressions. You're still excited for the Switch 2? What is the thing that you're most looking forward to with that system?
Looking forward to games not running at like 10 to 15 FPS, but and a lot of games are confirmed to get free upgrades, which is nice. Like, I know there's been some noise about the games that have paid upgrades, and for a couple of those, like, yeah, okay, like the Zeldas, you probably shouldn't have to pay for an upgrade. I think that's a little ridiculous.
Hmm.
At least with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, you're getting a significant chunk of new content. So I look
Hmm.
at that and I'm like, okay, all right, I feel like I can justify this. Just a couple of our friends and I were going back and forth. I'm like, oh, they're making some mechanical changes to Zelda, and it's like, should I go back in and play it? And they were like, no, don't do it. And I was like, yeah, thanks for talking me down. So I don't think I'm gonna do that. But I mean, Mario Kart World looks really fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of a little hard to get excited for Mario Kart anymore because, like 8 was around for
Very
oh my
long
God,
time.
when did it release on the Wii U? Don't forget it was a Wii U game.
How could I?
It really Mario Kart 8 had a almost 11-year long cycle. It released in May of 2014.
I mean,
So
the content upgrades for it for Switch were not insubstantial.
yeah, I mean,
So,
they released how many extra tracks? Like, Jesus.
No, it was like
40. Well, I mean, they released 24, 24 on the Wii U version, and then another 48 on the Switch,
Yeah.
which is neat. So at least the game had a very long tail, but people are also complaining about the tracks being ported from Mario Kart Tour. Oh, they look lower detailed, this, that, the other thing. Okay, you go in and see if you can do a better job upscaling mobile game assets then. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend Nintendo. I'm not going to sit here and defend Big Corpo.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. You want more Mario Kart? Well, a finger on the monkey's paw is going to curl up.
Yeah. And I mean, it was still fun stages, so it don't need to look perfect or be as varied as the other ones in terms of track design and whatever. I enjoyed it. I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, whatever. Just fun time. Always a game you can throw back in with some friends and play. You have a good time. And I assume that will be the same with Worlds. Just gonna be a much bigger version of that. And I'm really interested to find out how that will actually manifest when it's actually when I'm actually playing it. If there will be some repetitive parts like getting Burnout Paradise style, getting from one part to the stage to the next one, and you don't fall behind. Good luck. And if there's an instant retry, I hope so. And yeah, it looks very interesting, like a lot of characters, a lot of cool new gimmicks, and the stuff with the costumes is nice. It feels like they added a lot more bells and whistles this time. I'm just interested to see if the actual selection of tracks is there and how much the open world has actually to offer for you in terms of, hey, there's some cool shit here that you might want to find and look for, maybe because you'll get a new costume through it and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see how that is all like gonna pan out. And of course I'm looking forward to Metroid Prime 3. That's no secret, and even though that's still technically announced for the normal Switch, the Switch 2 version is gonna have a much upgraded graphical mode, and definitely gonna play it.
I couldn't believe when they were like, "Oh yeah, it's 120 hertz variable refresh rate screen." It was like,
yeah, but they recently have confirmed that is only for the portable version, right? The VRR was a mistake.
Yeah. No.
On their end, it's not gonna. You won't be able to have that in docked mode. You only will have to have that mobile mode, which a lot of people are playing their Switch like that. So they probably will be able to experience this. And there's no like. There might be a patch later on that enables that for the docked version of the game. So there's that. And yeah, I'm just like one of the highlight games I've been waiting for a while, and I kind of want to revisit one. It's not Metroid Prime 3, it's Metroid Prime 4 actually, and I kind of want to revisit the first three. So looking forward to that, and eventually I will get to that. A new Donkey Kong game, Bonanza. Looks really fun. Great title.
That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff coming.
There's a new version of Yakuza 0 coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I won't play that, but
which I wonder if I do wonder if they'll backport that to the other versions of the game, or just like, I guess, do another big re-release, which I feel like would be a little unfair to people who've already bought the game on other platforms. But who knows? Maybe Sega will pony up to patch the other versions of the games.
Yeah, we'll see.
One game that really excited me was the HD remaster of Bravely Default.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been stuck on the 3DS, and that deserves to be free on other platforms, and it's a great game that lots more people should play.
Yeah, well, usually check that out then, because I haven't played that on 3DS, so...
Yeah, it's I think it was this team has done some experimental stuff. Like I think one of the games they did was on the 3DS. What was it called? Like I think it was called like Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light. And it was like a little different from what you would expect from a Final Fantasy game. I don't remember exactly in what ways, but then they kind of were like, "Hey, we're just gonna make a big boy game now. Also, we're gonna bring in Revo to do the music, and that game's soundtrack slapped."
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a weird moment during the stream where it sort of like cut out, and I wanted to see footage of Enter the Gungeon 2, and it was like, you have to go to another stream, idiot. Also, finally, details on Daemon Ex Machina Titanic Scion, which, that's a cool giant robot game. It was really surprising to see some of the other ones in there. Like, they were like, oh yeah,
1
Street
second
Fighter.
of Silk Song.
Yeah.
Which everyone was waiting for, and they were, what, you just gonna put it in like that? What the fuck?
My heart goes out to fans of Hollow Knight because I don't really have a dog in the race,
Me
but
neither.
I hope they're able to play Silk Song sometime before the heat death of the universe. What else? It was cool to see stuff like Cyberpunk and FF7 Remake. Street Fighter 6, that apparently looks better than it does on Series S. Uh-oh.
Really?
Yeah, like some people were showing some differences in the level of detail, and like on some of the macro shots of some of the characters, it looks better on Switch too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this is definitely some stuff. I mean, not all of that is coming at launch, so I don't know how much. Right. It's weird that they're putting their Nintendo Land, I don't know, whatever thing to promote the console. You know, what actually explaining the console to you and the different things you can do with it be like paid. That should come with the system.
That's dumb.
Very weird choice, and I'm interested to see how many of the features actually get put into certain games, like the mouse stuff, for example. Like, how many games are there going to be that actually make use of that and everything? But, all of that, it looks like a very solid system. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it eventually, whenever that will be. I don't know. I'm not going to be able to get it at launch, probably. But we'll see. Maybe later this year or next year or whatever. And by then, probably a couple more games will be out. I mean, I think Mario Kart World is going to be at launch, and Bonanza is going to come sometime in summer, and then I don't know when Metroid Prime 4 is coming. So we'll see. But by the time I get to it, there are probably some games I'm going to check out and looking forward to it. And the only other weird thing that they introduced is this game card system for sharing games, which seems to be not that well thought out, actually. So,
yeah, I mean, you can do it on Switch One now, I guess. Like I just downloaded a system update the other day, and it was on the home menu, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I can't wait to share games with myself.
It sounds like they downgraded that by introducing that new system. It was apparently easier before, or you could do it more game sharing, at least inside of the family or whatever, and now that is not possible anymore without the game card. So it's I don't know. That sounds like it kind of they went a bit backwards there, but we'll see. But yeah, it looks like a fun system.
There's also the game key cards where the game is like not really on the cartridge, which
that's what I meant.
To be fair, okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's not new. There's a lot of games on Switch One that do that, but and like I want to buy Bravely Default physical, even though it's not technically on the cartridge, but the game key cards will at least retain resale value so long as the game is still downloadable. So that's why I'm like, I'll just buy it that way, I guess.
I mean, it's not the case for all the games, right? It's just a lot of third-party developers are using it because it's a cheaper version than using the 64 gigabyte cartridge or whatever the other option was that Nintendo provided them.
Yeah, there were like two whole options for cartridges, and it was like a 64 gigabyte one, and then
the
shut up
key cards, right? So they're going for that because it's easier manufacturing for them. And that means only the Nintendo games are probably going to be on proper cards, and all the other ones are going to be key cards mostly, except for some companies who can afford it or want to afford it. So that's going to be an interesting situation, and it's probably going to be discussed much more in the future. We'll see.
Cool that there's a new Kirby Air Ride. Like they really baited that when I was like, there's no way they're forcing Sakurai to do another Smash Brothers. Just the way the teaser started out, and then when they were like, "Oh, Kirby Air Riders," it's like, "Oh, this is the game Sakurai has wanted to make for a real long time." So cool.
Still hoping for that Kid Icarus Uprising port/remaster.
He had been hinting at that for a very long time. So maybe shrug.
It would be nice. Like, I always felt like the game, in terms of presentation, deserved to be on a bigger screen and higher quality graphics and so on. So maybe we'll get that.
And with better controls.
Yeah, I mean, that's also something that, might, depending on how the mouse controls actually work, might actually be able to make use of that properly. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Sakura will do it eventually. But yeah.
Also, Toby Fox just out of nowhere saying, "Hey, chapters 3 and 4 of Deltarune, just both are coming at the same time." Like, I think the collective internet lost it on that one, because I guess the big meme is Deltarune tomorrow, and well,
there it is. Oh yeah. Looking forward to that. Are you gonna get it at launch?
I have a pre-order on Walmart. We'll see if it actually stays. If not, then I'll figure it out. But I mean, you know me, I'm stupid and I want to be on the idiotic bleeding edge. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna. This whole game chat thing to me is like dumb, and I'm just not
going to use it. It's like there's no reason for me to use it.
I have zero desire to buy a camera or to buy. Yeah. Like, I mean, the Switch 2 Pro controller looks nice because it's got the buttons on the back, even though I don't ever really use those. But, I mean, I have a third-party controller now that I really like, so maybe I'll eventually buy one if it comes in a neat design, because I have... What Pro controllers do I have? I have the Xenoblade one, and I have the Smash Brothers one. So, you know, I am mostly in the habit of buying a neat-looking controller if I need it, not because, oh, here's a new one. Just wait for the one with the pretty colors. Like that. I don't know, there were some real ugly ones in years past, so, you know,
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's gonna be another Xenoblade game eventually, so let's see. But apparently the Switch 1 Pro controller seems to be working with the Switch 2 as well, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing about the Joy-Cons, but at least you'll be able... I gotta imagine you'll be able to at least use them wirelessly.
Yeah, probably. So, what else we got?
So... Clair Obscur Expedition 33 kind of blew up. I don't think we know what the developer's magic number of sales is, but it's over 2 million now. So it's doing really well for itself.
I mean, it got a lot of positive reviews, and also, you know, from not only from I don't know, online magazines and whatever, but also from everyone who played it, who says this is the real deal. This is absolutely spectacular. Like, so much fun, such a good gameplay system and everything. And I haven't heard anything about the story, actually, like if it's really good or not. I don't know. I didn't want to get spoilers, so I didn't look into any of that. So, but yeah, it sounds like we got a really good JRPG out of it, and yeah.
Stop.
So I will definitely play that game eventually. I'm looking forward to it, but it's gonna be a while probably.
I guess one of the devs was talking about all the games that inspired them, and like one at the top of the list was Lost Odyssey. And looking at this game, it's like, oh no, yeah, come on, dude. And then you look at the menus in battles, and it's like, well, that's Persona 5. Like, it's clear, it's very clear where it's getting a lot of its cues from, and that is not a problem, because, you know, it's a very well regarded game. So
You are very allowed to wear your inspiration on your sleeve as long as you iterate on them in an interesting way. And it seems like they also did their own thing and did that very, very well. So, it seems like it's one of the good ones, and I'm glad it pays off in terms of sales numbers. And, of course, now the expectations for the sequel are through the fucking roof. I would imagine, and everyone is going to be like, "Oh my god, when is that going to happen?" I don't even know how long they worked on the first one.
There doesn't even have to be a sequel, so
I don't even know if the story allows for it. Or let's say everyone is probably going to look forward to the next game from that studio now. While before that they weren't really on anyone's radar, but now they're on everyone's. And it's like. I mean, this is gonna probably be one of the big contenders for Game of the Year. So, we'll see what happens. It's probably gonna win Best RPG, at least Best Role Playing Game this year, because I don't know what else is coming out in this year that might actually be able to challenge it. So we'll see. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting, and I'm looking forward to eventually playing it.
I mean, I see how good it is. I don't know if I'm interested in playing it myself, but, maybe eventually. I'll see. I mean, I've got too many other games to play anyways.
So do I, but I'm always like, if there's a really good kind of JRPG-ish thing that is happening, and I also, like I said, I need to find out if the story is actually good or if people are just raving about the actual gameplay. If it's just the gameplay itself that is so much fun and having everyone being addicted to it, I just also want a good story out of my RPGs, please, if possible. So we'll see. I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I will look into it. Try to not get spoiled. But yeah, for now, I have other games to finish.
I mean, there's one streamer I watched, and they've been playing it, and I'm like, I keep watching, or should I actually sit down and play this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure that out. But yeah, the next news story is not a big one, but it's one that was I thought was relevant to my interests because there was this Bandai Namco MMO called Blue Protocol that was it had been out in Japan for a little bit, and Amazon was like, "Oh, well, we're going to do the worldwide publishing of it." And they had a closed technical test last year. And then Bandai Namco was like, "Oh, well, never mind. We're going to shut the game down." And then Amazon after was like, "Well, I guess we're not publishing it anymore." So that kind of stunk because I thought the game was actually pretty fun. But then a couple of days ago, out of nowhere, Blue Protocol Star Resonance was announced by a different publisher, and the game gets to live on, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and I'll definitely be there to check it out and see, if it's like what was there before, if they're maybe doing something different with it, But that's cool enough that it gets to that it got to somehow survive. So I think that's neat.
Not only TV series are getting rescued, but also games.
What a world!
Yeah, weird. In other positive news, or potentially negative turned positive news, we talked about someone from Giant Bomb before, but there was a bit of a kerfuffle thing happening of maybe them being sold by their previous owner, a fandom, and I think a similar thing was coming up for Polygon. I'm not sure how it panned out there and what actually happened, but for Giant Bomb, it turned out due to certain the paths of fate. Now the actual people who comprise Giant Bomb, like people like Jeff Grubb, like Dan Reichert, like Jeff Beckler, now own Giant Bomb. They own actually the site, the IP, whatever, and are independent now, which is one of those things that never happens, kind of like, or feel like it never happens. I think it happened to some other. I think Game Informer also went. I'm not sure if they went fully independent, but they recently got revived, and I think by some of the original people that worked on that. So it seems like a lot of games media is going more independent these days, which I think is a good thing. And looking forward I'm very happy for those guys because I've been following Giant Bomb forever, like even before they split up into certain sections. I think I listened to the Giant Beast cast more than to the Giant Bomb cast, and they're Nextlander now. But, the new crew is also pretty cool, and I don't listen to every episode or watch every video of theirs, but there's always something there that I occasionally check out, and it's very entertaining. And they have been through a lot of stuff over the years in terms of, different owners and everything. And it's glad to see that this is now ending up in the hands of the people who are actually doing the content and bringing the cool shit and, actually responsible for this still being a thing and surviving for so long. So I wish them all the best. I hope they're gonna be around for a lot longer, for many more years, and gonna do some more cool shit. And apparently they did at PAX. And
yeah, the announcement was crazy because my friend and we were. I'm not super. I followed like Giant Bomb very loosely, not quite as close as you have, but they were going to have a Blight Club panel, and Jeff Grubb, Jeff Bakalar, Dan Riker, and Jan Ochoa take the stage, and they were like, yeah, so this was supposed to be a Blight Club panel, but we wanted to talk about, what's going on with Giant Bomb lately, and the site has new owners, and you're looking at them, and there was just like this massive pop. So everyone got up on their feet and was cheering and clapping, and that was really great. But my friend and I went there for one thing in particular, and we ended up leaving about halfway through. But it was nice to hear the news that Giant Bomb gets to live on. So
yeah, and I think even they were surprised how big the pop was. I think Dan expected a pop, but not that big of a pop, because like people were given standing ovations and everything, and everyone was very happy after the news that came across. Sounded like they would be in dire straits or whatever, and now it's for like I posted on Blue Sky in response to this, for once in this rotten decade, we're actually living in the best timeline. So this was just a nice uplifting thing that happens, and like I said, I'm wishing them all the best, and I'm happy they get to continue to do what they do, and are now not beholden to any weird expectations outside the ones of their fans, and we'll see. There are some negative things we could go into because, tariffs, shit is getting more expensive, and there have been more layoffs for a lot of companies. I don't even remember all of them because there's so many. So
it seems like every week there's another set of layoffs.
Yeah. Shit is still dire in other parts, but I wanted to focus on the positive stuff here. So let's just keep it at that for the news bits. And let's move on over to the final section, one up for discussion, and talk about our gaming history. Yes, so this is our editorial whatever goes section where we put anything game related in here that we want to talk about. And since we haven't done this for the gaming spin-off before, we did it for ABF. We did like in the very first episode of that, we talked a bit about how we came to anime as a medium and what were some of the shows that got us interested in it, and what we enjoyed about it and so on. And we thought, hey, why not do this for games as well? And since, we started pretty early because we're fucking old, there are a lot of gaming eras to talk about with, that we've experienced during our storied lives. So we thought, hey, we start out at the very beginning, because we also don't know all the details about that. Just like with the anime, I was surprised to learn that John kind of got introduced to anime through the same series as I did when we talked about it. So we'll see. Maybe we'll learn something new about our personal gaming histories in this section as well. We're not exactly the same age. John, I think you're like 3 years younger than I am or something like that.
Yeah, I
Maybe even a
believe
bit
so.
younger than that. But
3.5.
yeah, something like that. So, but it's comparable. So we're probably gonna cover roughly the same eras. And that means we're probably, I mean, no, not really. I mean, do we want to start with the first consoles we owned, or do we want to start with our first experience with video games? Because then we have to start a bit earlier. And since we're already running very long, and I don't want the podcast to be much longer than 3 hours, we're probably only going to do like 1 or 2 console generations, or, you know, if also play PC. We're going to can talk about that. But yeah.
For me, I kind of feel like the start point in the first experience with games is kind of one and the same.
Really? So?
Because flashback to a much younger John Jr. in 1987, 88, when my parents got me an NES for Christmas. There was I forget what the name of the package was, but it was the one that came with a Zapper, like the original gray Zapper before they reissued it in orange. With Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers on one cartridge.
And what was the third one? Was there a third one on that one as well?
No, there was one later on that I think was Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and
Tetris?
No, I think it was maybe like
maybe it was different in the PAL region.
Like a track and field game?
Yeah, that could be it. And I think in the PAL region it was Super Mario Brothers, it was Tetris, and it was Nintendo World Cup. So, yeah, that's probably different for US because I don't even know if you got Nintendo World Cup.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, there was a cartridge, I think, in the US, Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt World Class Track Meet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never had them. I just had the 2-in-1.
Yeah.
Which, thinking back on it now, having 2 games on one cartridge is wild.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there were other games that did that later on in other eras.
I mean, we now have that in collections, but back in the day, that was something special.
I mean, there was like a Sonic collection on the Genesis that had more than one Sonic game on it. And like that wasn't like emulation or anything. It was just like it must have just been several banks of ROMs on one PCB, but whatever.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. So Super Mario Brothers was my first real big experience with video games, and then basically destroying my Zapper by holding it too close to the TV and not understanding how the photo sensor worked in it. Oops. Yeah. Now I understand how the technology worked, but back then I was just like, well, you just push it right up against the screen and you shoot the ducks with it, right? Well, that works until, the photo sensor gets blown out. Oops. Yeah. God, I didn't have a ton of games on my NES because, back when you're a kid, obviously the only times you're realistically gonna get games are Christmas and your birthday.
Yeah.
Any other time is like a bonus. So the big way to experience games, and this is obviously we're both dating ourselves with this, but the big way to experience was going downtown to the local video store and renting a game for a weekend.
That definitely was an option, though that came in for me later, in a later era. I would say starting with PlayStation. It wasn't for me a thing in the NES era. In the NES era, it was more of like going through the local mall or something like that, and then they maybe would have a kiosk or something where they would advertise a new NES game or a new Super Nintendo game that you could play there on an NES, and that's how I would get more games than I had at home, and also friends, of course. But I get into that once you're done with your NES talk.
But yeah, that video store was there for a very long time. You went there even like up through the PS1 era renting stuff. So, the one that I used to love renting all the time was Super Mario Brothers 3.
I mean, it was one of the big ones.
That game was great and is still great to this day. So, but I remember one time going down there, Mario 3 wasn't there. Well, what do I rent then? I don't know what this game is. I guess I'll rent it. I guess it's called Mega Man 3. I don't know. So I get it home. And I'm trying to play it like a Mario game because every game is Mario, right? You're just running and jumping. You're running and jumping on enemies. What do you mean I can't jump on enemies? What's going on? I have to shoot them. What is this? And I didn't understand it. And I was a stupid child. But then when I kind of came to grips with, it's like you're just running and shooting and jumping and climbing and sliding. Then I was like, yeah, hey, you know what? This is pretty cool, actually. And still waiting on a new Mega Man game since Mega Man 11, but that became a lifelong big love of mine. So I had some other weirdo games. Like there were some weird like movie tie-in games. Like my parents got me, of all the movie tie-in games in the world, The Hunt for Red October.
And I'm like, weird ones in there. I think I got Top Gun at some point.
Yeah, and then there was, then you had the more standard stuff. Like I had Zelda, I had Kirby's Adventure, both great games. Zelda 2 pisses me off to this very day, but I had it. There was this game, I think, what was it called in Japanese? I think it was called like Ninja Jamaru-kun, or maybe it was something else. It was this Capcom side-scrolling platformer, and that it didn't make its way to the U.S. under that name. No. It got put under a different license and re-released under a different name with a different product line tie-in called Yo Noid, and it was a promotional vehicle for Domino's Pizza.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
And boy, that game exists. I don't know whether or not the original game is better or not, but it was trying its best to be a weirdo platformer with some stuff going on. I don't even, man. Okay, that's what it was called in Japanese. It was called Hanamaru the Masked Ninja, so definitely a much more generic name, but he
Almost
had
the same thing.
He had a bird that he would like launch at enemies to attack them. So what did that get replaced with in Yo-Noid? It got replaced with a yo-yo because
doing it Star Tropic style.
A little bit. That's a game I never played, man. But I always heard it was really good. So
I'll talk about it.
Yeah. I didn't have a whole ton of games on the NES back in the day, but then through stuff like the Virtual Console on Wii and Wii U, I was able to experience a lot more stuff. So, yeah, there was a lot of games on the NES, and there's a lot of good games. There was a lot of weirdo trash, but there was a lot on there.
Yeah, I agree. It was a fun time. I got into the NES pretty late. I think it was 92. At that point, the Super Nintendo was already out, technically. But I didn't even start with the NES. And also, the reason why I got it so late is because before that, I played games mostly at my friends' video games. I convinced my parents pretty late that it would be wise to invest a lot of money in a video game console. Or tele games, as they were called here. Whatever. But no, I think the first time I came into contact with video games properly was at a friend's house, and he had an Atari 2600, I think. With the classics, with Pitfall. I think he had the Popeye game. He had one other one that we played a lot of. Was it Frogger? I don't know. Something along those lines. And there was the track and field game as well. Here's the through line. And I remember playing that and liking it, but it didn't really really spark an explosion yet in my mind. I think that's enjoyable and interesting and so on. But I don't quite get it. fun enough, but but I wasn't like addicted or anything to that. And then 2 friends of mine, one of them again mentioned him before, Alex, and his brother, they had the fortunate benefit of having a dad that was traveling a lot internationally, and also had enough money to buy them an NES early. The problem is, there weren't that many games in Germany yet. So what did he do? He actually bought a modded NES console, which I must believe in these days was a fucking rare thing.
Yeah.
So that he got them a modded. I don't know if it was a modded European console or a modded US console, but it was able to play European and US games through a flip switch at the front. Fucking crazy. And if it was flipped up, I think you would play US games. If you flipped it down, you could play German games. So
that's nuts.
That's fucking nuts. So every time he went on, business travel to the US, he would bring them new games that weren't out in Germany yet. So they got like the hot new shit. They got Super Mario Bros. 3 because that was on German shelves. Before that was on German shelves. So that was fucking crazy. And I was in the very beneficial position to, as a friend, to experience all of that with them, right? And that extended through the Super Nintendo area, actually, because he actually got them an adapter to play US Super Nintendo games on a European console. So that was really cool. Like, got to experience Super Mario Brothers, of course. We played that shit, like, to no ends. Ice Climbers, Snake Rattle and Roll, we played a lot. Oh god, what else was there? I mean, Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, of course, all of those. And Duck Hunt, we definitely played over at theirs. I think we played Dr. Mario and Tetris over at theirs. What else? Super Nintendo World Cup, we played the shit out of that. I remember that. And yeah, it was a really fun time. I really enjoyed it a lot. And then, eventually, 92... through a system my parents cooked up in when we went on vacation. They were like, hey, you got a budget of 5 Deutschmark every day, and you can either spend them on snacks or you save them up, and then after the vacation, you can get yourself maybe a bigger treat. So I actually did that. I only get like maybe... one, teaching your kid about money the interesting way and saving up for the future. So I only used like one Deutschmark or each Deutschmark each day for an ice cream or something like that, and saved the other 4. So by the end of the vacation, I had pretty sizable like allowance, whatever, pocket money saved up. And my grandma added a bit to that, and I was able to get myself a nice NES with Super Mario Brothers and the first Contra. And for people who are not aware, in Europe, of course, that was called Probotector. And the reason I bought that was the sick-ass cover for Probotector for the European version, which is much better than the cover for Contra. No contest, in my opinion, because it has fucking... pet labor styled mechs on it, like the Probotector mechs, and they look so fucking cool. And I saw that in my local mall, or whatever supermarket that also sold video games, and I was like, I need to have that. Little did I know that game would kick my ass so hard.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I think through the Nintendo Club magazine or whatever, I quickly found out that you could get like 30 lives or 10 lives, and I was actually able to finish it with that. But not the normal way, because Jesus Christ, Contra 1 is a tough game. But yeah.
So my experience with Contra is limited, and I'm interrupting just because I think this is a funny story.
No, please do.
My friend and I went to a convention that wasn't exactly local. It was like a little out of the way. And there was someone there representing another convention. And they were like, hey, we do retro game stuff. If you can beat the first level of Contra without dying, you get a free pass to go. And I was just like, well, I mean, I've never played the OG Contra, but I guess I've seen enough of it that I guess I can give it a try. So I kind of played it, and I took my time through the level, and I somehow managed to do it, and I won a free pass. So I was like, all right, yeah. So, and I don't think I've ever played the original Contra beyond that first stage.
I think without the cheat code, I made it through stage 5. Stage 5, the ice stage. That's where I always ended.
That's most of the way through then, though.
It's like...
Because it's what, like 7, 8 stages?
Yeah, that included, I think it's three more stages that I would have needed to finish, but I wasn't able to. And then, okay, you can do the Konami code, the famous one, up, down, down, left, right, BA or AB, and start. And then you get 10 lives on each continue, and with that I was able to do it. But yeah, still, that took a while until I actually got to that code. In the beginning, I was like, oh god, this is so hard. I need a new game. So... talked about this. The most ways you would get games in these days were Christmases or birthdays. But I also wanted more. And so I kind of, since I already had technically earned the console and the game myself by saving up, I asked my parents what else I could do to get more games outside of Christmases and birthdays. And I was like, well, you could do certain chores and we would just give you extra allowance for that. And then you can use that to buy yourself some games. And I was like, okay, let's do that. And, I do just shit for them, just groceries, cleaning the cars or whatever, right? And that's how I would finance my gaming addiction habit. So the first game I was able to buy through that measure, and here's our overlap once again, John, was, of course, a little game called Mega Man 3. Because I went through the mall with the money in hand. It was like, okay, which game am I going to buy? And I just saw this sick-ass cover, and I think the European cover for Mega Man 3 is superior because it's very close to the Japanese one. There's only some slight differences. I think Mega Man looks more metallic and whatever. But aside from that, it's pretty close to the Japanese one, and I don't know if I would have bought it if it had the if it had the US cover. But it looked super sick, and of course he had a dog in that game, and I recently got a dog myself, and I was very happy. I was like, oh man, this is me with my dog. I'm gonna buy this game. So I played it and fell in love, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. You get new powers every time you beat a boss, and it's super cool, and the levels are super cool. It's super tough, but it's also really fun to play. And also had a schoolmate who also had the game and told me the special trick how to beat the final boss because I didn't know how to do it. And yeah, I fell in love with that little guy called Mega Man, and that hasn't changed. And that's also how John and I got to meet for the first time, because we both were in in the IRC channel. For you kids out there who don't know what that is, that's basically old Discord, and that's where
the Dark Ages.
Yeah, there was one an IRC channel for this Mega Man fan page, and we both ended up in that, and yeah, well, that's where it all started, folks. So definitely Mega Man, the origin or one of the parts of the origin for gaming habits, and also for video game not career, but history. And also for this podcast, because without Mega Man, there probably wouldn't be Anime Brain Freeze. There also wouldn't be freeze frames per second. So there you go. That's where it all came from. The good old Blue Bomber. And yeah, of course, I bought the other Mega Man games that came after that. I bought 4 specifically, I think, for cleaning my parents' car several times. I remember that. And then I bought Mega Man 5, of course, was looking forward to it. The information of when games were coming out were very sparse back then. You basically stumbled across them when you went to your shop, or like you said, your video rental space or place or something like that, which I didn't do back in the day, not until N64 PlayStation era. So I was like, okay, Mega Man 4 has been out of... Is this going to be another Mega Man? And then, the other big information source was magazines. So Nintendo Club magazines, and we had one that kind of ventured into the same area, just was a bit more beefy, called the Funvision. and that was focused on solely Nintendo games as well. And in either one of those, they had a spotlight for Mega Man 5, and it was like just circling that with my pen. This is my next game. This is my next game. And and it was, and of course through birthdays and Christmas, I got a couple of other ones. I think I got the original Metroid game. I got Kid Icarus. Never got far in Kid Icarus. That game is tough as nails too. But I played through the original Metroid game. And some other ones as well. I also didn't have too many games. Like I said, some weird ones that were just in the bargain bin that my mom got for me, which was Metroid, Kid Icarus, Top Gun. Some I got from friends, and also through birthdays through them. What else was there? There was this weird driving game, not Road Blasters, but something else, where you had to collect these weird bubbles and could also shoot, I think. But I forgot its name. Not Road Racer, something else. But I had that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Excite Bike, which was fun, creating your own tracks, but I also played that at my friend's first. And, I don't think I got any of the Mario games for myself outside of the first one. I played all of the other ones at my friend's house because they got them first anyway. And I mainly focused on the Mega Man games. And, but that's another weird off-kilter game, or two, that I got around to playing. The first one, and we recently talked about it. We talked about that in our first FreezeFramesPerSecond episode, actually, was Shadow of the Ninja, Blue Shadow, which recently got a remake. And I played that, and that was also tough at NES. I never finished that game, but I liked it. I liked the soundtrack. I liked the design, so... that was definitely one of that stuck with me and that I remembered. And then another weird one was fucking Banana Prince, which is this weird ass game from Takara that I don't know if that even came out in the US, but it came out in Europe. I definitely played
Banana Prince.
Yeah, Banana Prince. I need to go back and play that again. I think it was a pretty fun platformer RPG adventure-ish thing. Pretty easy because I think I was able to play through it and finish it like several times. But I remember having a fun time with that. That definitely is stuck in my mind. And the second Gargoyle's Quest game, definitely played that also for the NES. Found that at a local used game store. And yeah, there probably were other ones now that I don't remember because I had a couple more that I picked up here and there. But the main ones always were the Mega Man games, of course. Two, I got after 3, or even after 4, I think. I picked up 2 pretty late. But I got 2, 3, 4, and 5. Don't even know if 6 came out here, but I never saw it, so I never picked it up. I think even to this day, I haven't played through 6 all the way through. It's still like this black spot.
I remember there was a thing with 6 where Capcom didn't want to publish it outside of Japan, and Nintendo kind of took up the mantle themselves, but I don't know how that worked out over in Europe.
Yeah, it might have not even been out here. And by the time I got into the console, Mega Man 1 wasn't available anymore. So I never picked it up. Not a big miss, really.
Yeah, Mega Man 6 is kind of to me, but
Yeah, and 1 too. Like 1 and 6 are like... I mean, like I said, I haven't really played 6, so I eventually will, but...
Do you want me to hit you with a controversial opinion?
Yes, please go.
I don't really like Mega Man 2.
Really? Oh, okay.
I never did. Like I have played through it a few times, and I respect that. That was the big game, and
yes.
But I never really liked Mega Man 1 or 2. Like I to this day, it shocks me that series got past its first version.
Absolutely. Like, I was really surprised, revisiting it, that Mega Man 1 wasn't the nail in the coffin for that franchise. Because that's a very flawed game, and it's not really fun. Like, I mean, the ideas are there, but the actual gameplay is still, oof. Like, It doesn't look particularly good. It feels very unfinished when you compare it to the later game. The jump from 1 to 2 is fucking incredible, and from 2 to 3 even more so. But yeah, I guess a lot of people just started with 2 technically, and it blew them away. And I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in that game, and I feel if you play it in the US and the European version, you get like an easier difficulty setting. And maybe because it was very easy to play back in the day, and nobody played the difficult setting in the beginning. It was a good point of entry, and that maybe because a lot of people were able to finish it, it stuck with a lot of people in their minds as one of the best games. And soundtrack is legendary. The bosses are cool and everything. But I also can see the argument it not being someone's favorite.
God, if you say soundtrack is legendary, I think that one Wily stage theme is probably the most remixed one on OC Remix.
That is the Mega Man theme beyond the main theme from Mega Man 2. These are the 2 themes that everyone knows. Like, I love the soundtrack for Mega Man 3, but 2 is just the thing that gets remixed so much and everyone knows it, and it's just the thing. And yeah, I don't even know if 2 is... It probably isn't my... I like to play it because it's super breezy and easy. Like, you can play through it so quickly. All the other ones have more wily stages and so on. It takes you a while longer to get through them. But I think maybe 5 might even be more my favorite than 2. And 3 is just unfair because it has that big nostalgia bonus for being the first Mega Man game and one of my first video games ever. So...
to be fair, 3 also has a lot of flaws, but obviously it was the first one that both of us played, so it has a special place. But like looking back on it, it's like, yeah, some of the stage design is weird. You can tell there's some stuff that shouldn't be going on with this game, but in spite of that, it's still a really strong, really good game. Like, I mean, you look at the stage select. What is with that one glitched line above Shadow Man? Why does it do that?
Yeah,
and I guess there's an actual technical explanation for that with like one of the mapper chips being weird. But it's just like back in the day, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's normal. Okay.
Was Mega Man already able? Yes, he was already able to look into the different corners of the stage selection in that game, right?
That started with 3.
That's just one of those super neat details, right? Where it's like, you don't have to do that, but it's really neat that they did that. But yeah, there's some weird graphical bugs, like glitches in there that are not really, that don't understand. And then you get the Dog Robot stages, which are just like these weird, super hard redone of stages you've already done. So it's got this weird middle part where you've like, didn't really need to be in here. Like, why did you do that? And it's also like the least fun part of the game. I feel that game would be stronger if you left out the Dog Robot stages and just went from the proper 8 bosses to the Wily stages, or have the Breakman fight in between. But yeah, it's still a fun game, and I feel like the other games iterated on that. Like, a lot of people say, well, games got progressively worse and less interesting, and I totally disagree with that. I think 5 is still a standout entry in that series, and they say like they all look the same. Also, absolutely not true. Like, Mega Man 5 and 6 look so much better than 1 and 2, and even 3 to an extent. So,
I think But yeah, I agree with you on all that. I think my only misgiving in particular on 4 is it's a much slower game. Like, the screen transitions and how long the boss
ladders.
Life meters take to fill. It's like, oh, you're sitting... It interrupts the music for a solid, 5 seconds, which is why now with ROM hacks and patches, you can fix those things, and it's great.
Yeah, that is cool. That I agree. But
so I think Mega Man 4 has gotten to be higher up on the list for me, but there's an asterisk next to it because of the patches that I think, it's not like anything that affects gameplay. It's just affecting, the speed and, how quickly you can get back to playing it. So that's my one misgiving about that. Most of the other games are cool. I think I've gone on record on saying that Mega Man 9 feels like Mega Man 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes sense.
I don't like that they took out the slide.
You know what? I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with it being like, well, everyone likes 2, right? So we're gonna lean so hard into that, and I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah, this is not the game you wanted them to lean into. No, I get it. Still a fun game though. And I'm trying to think of other NES games that were kind of formative. Like, oh yeah, Star Tropics. You said you never played it. I did. I didn't get super far. I never finished it because that game is also tough as nails. But it's got an interesting atmosphere, which I liked, and never played the second one. But the first one was really fun.
I just remember the big thing was with the note inside the instruction manual, and you had to like wet it down to see the information you needed.
Yeah, I just got that information, I think, out of a club magazine. Because I just... I didn't know that I would have to do that.
I mean, but that's neat, though.
Yeah, that is absolute. That's a Kojima-esque thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so that feels like something he would have cooked up. But yeah, that's fun. And Castlevania, definitely another franchise that I dipped my toe pretty late, though. I think I played Simon's Quest first, and then I played the original one later. The Turtles games, I'm a big fan. I mean, the first one is, it is what it is. But I was
very late to both of those franchises, so
yeah. Again, got a lot of contact with a lot of them with my friends. I think I played the first. I don't even know if 3 came out here, like the Manhattan Project or whatever it was called, but I played 1 and 2 at their place, and I loved 1 was, but 2 I loved, and I got that for myself later down the road as well, because I loved the port of the arcade game for the NES so much. Still love the soundtrack. And so definitely check that out. Castlevania 1 and 2 I definitely played, never played 3. Recently remedied that. Game is super hard, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, there are a lot of games from that era that stuck with me in one way or another. Mega Man probably being, of course, the biggest one. Sadly, that franchise hasn't seen that much love in recent years. I mean, a lot of the older ones don't anymore. They get collections, which is nice. Castlevania got a couple of collections, and Mega Man, of course, got also all pretty much except for Legends and Star Force. All these are available in collections now, at least the big ones. So
Star Force isn't, but Battle Network at least is.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Aside from Star Force and Legends, we got all of them in collection now.
I feel like, and I know you're not big on VTubers, but there have been some VTubers lately diving into playing like Mega Man X stuff lately, so there's eyes on this in recent years. So hopefully this will create some sort of buzz that Capcom will no longer be able to ignore.
We'll see.
Please?
But yeah, Mega Man X is something that's then probably gonna come up the next time we talk about this, because like I said, we're already running pretty fucking long. So we're gonna keep the next iteration of this discussion, of this talk about our gaming history for the next time, and go into the Super Nintendo and Genesis area, and that's gonna be very one-sided for me, and probably a bit more diverse for you. But
lately, but yeah, the last thing about Mega Man for me is, I played the heck out of 3. Then I ended up not really playing a whole lot of it until X came out.
Weird.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time, maybe. But like, I kind of played Mega Man back in the day in bursts, and it wasn't until much later that I was able to fill in the gaps because of like the collections and this, that, the other, and emulation.
Yeah, the bad word.
But yeah, it took me some time to fill in all of the gaps, but I knew I loved Mega Man, and I knew I wanted to play more of it, but the difficulty came from, how do I get the games? I don't have the money, I don't have the means, and then I discovered, what emulation was, and I was able to do some of that, but, we'll talk about it next time, but I had a little I dipped my toes a little bit into the Genesis side, not as much as you might think, but it was there, so.
Yeah, that's probably then gonna be next time. Genesis, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, which, you know, one of those I had, but the other two, I didn't. But I came into contact with it in one way or another. So it's gonna be very interesting to talk about that. Looking forward to it. But that's it for this episode of Free Frames Per Second. I hope you enjoyed your time and will join us next time whenever we do the next one of this. Like I said, no strict schedule for this. You know, it's very different from what we do with Anime Brain Freeze, so we don't know when we'll do another one of this and when we'll have played enough games to actually warrant talk about this.
I'll try to play more games for next time. I'm sorry.
See, take your time. You know, we got 2 episodes of Anime Brain Freeze we need to do first anyway, and then we'll see what happens next season. Maybe we'll do another episode of this, or maybe we'll wait another season until we have enough games to talk about. We will see. But until then, have a good gaming time and see you soon.
Take care, everybody.